I'm ready.
Okay, this is officially the call to order. I don't have anything to tap. For the Historic Preservation Architectural Review Commission, Tuesday, March 9th, 6 o'clock. This is another one of our wonderful Zoom meetings. The minutes, does anyone have any comments about the minutes? Corrections, additions?
I do.
Good. What?
If you go to,
I've got a couple too. Maybe the same.
go ahead, Barbara. Go first.
Oh, okay. I have on the second page, it could be what was said. It just sounds strange. It's about 3/4 of the way down under action, the next paragraph. It says Alicia Jones of Lewis commented on chat stating the house is beautiful and any changes requested by Ms. Schultz will make
We'll make the streetscape.
what?
There's a
Will
word,
make the streetscape.
something. Yeah, that's what I picked
Yeah.
up.
Okay, and then I had it doesn't change anything, And then on the page 6, I just had a question for Bonnie. It's right after, it's up near the top, right before chair and staff. It says, Councilwoman Osler stated there is $18,400 budgeted for the survey. That's the balance of the survey, I assume? Bonnie?
Yeah, I assume so. I think I was looking at this draft budget at that point, so.
Okay. All right, well, I can check with Anne Marie on that.
Yeah, I
That's-
probably was just reading whatever it said. Anne Marie's on the
okay.
call, if you want to ask her.
All right, well, if she has it handy, fine. Otherwise,
I don't have the budget with me, so I can check in the morning.
Okay, that's fine. Then on the last page, it's the 4th line down from the top. It says Bill and Jean Reeder. I assume that's Joan Reeder. Bill and Joan Reeder. Anybody else know Bill and Joan, or anybody know Bill and Jean?
No.
Don't tell Joan.
Yeah, don't tell Joan that Bill's married to Jean. So that's, and then I guess 3/4, halfway down, there's misspelling on Pilot Town Road.
Yeah, I see that after John and Kathy Ziegler.
Oh, is it there more than one place?
Well, no, it's
Carol Olson,
Pilot
360.
Town.
Is that where you're looking? Carol Olson, 3.
There is a couple places. It's 222 and 216. Both
Okay.
are Pilot Town is in.
Pilot Town is, yeah.
Okay, so we just need a correction to the spelling on page 7 of the Pilot Town.
Correct.
That's what I have. Anybody have anything else?
No.
Okay, so may I have a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
So moved.
Second, who did the motion? Michael?
I'll second.
Okay, Michael and Jack, all right. All right, then we're down to the applications. Some nice applications here. Presentation and possible action on a request by Danielle Jones, Clarence B. Stewart, and Heirs for the demolition of a dwelling on property and construction of the new dwelling on the properties located at 315 and 317 West 4th Street, Sussex County Tax Map 335-8.07, 264.00, and 265.00, R-4H non-contributing. Currently pending approval for the consolidation of the two parcels. It's 315 and 317 West 4th Street. Who is going to do the presentation?
I think Rick Cornell is here, and the owner is here also.
Okay. So thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hey, it's Rick Cornell. How are you?
Fine, Rick. Do you want to let us see you?
Sure.
Okay. You can see us. We'd like to see you.
Trying to figure out where. Hang on one second.
It's right next to the microphone that you've got on. It's a little picture like a camera, like a movie camera.
I'm looking. Hang on a second.
They might need to be promoted to panelists. I think they're just unmuted at the moment.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't have that screen. All
Or
I
does
have is the
that
microphone.
That has to come from the city, Anne Marie?
Janelle, can you do that?
There's Bill Landon.
All right, there we go.
Okay, great. So nice to see you.
You too.
All right, so we've got a nice presentation packet here from you. It's quite detailed, you know, gets an A+.
I have to give a lot of the credit to the homeowner for Danielle. She's
Okay.
on here, I think, but she's driving home and she's got it on her phone.
Okay, so she just wants to listen or speak?
Yeah.
if-
She might be able to help out. There she is.
Oh, hi. Nice to meet you and see you.
Yeah.
I think you're muted. You have to great. Can you hear us? We still can't hear you though. We can't hear you.
There
at
we
all.
go.
Okay.
There we go.
very
I pulled over. I'm in the parking lot.
good. Okay, that's safer. All right, very good. So we understand that there's structures on the property and you're going to consolidate the property. You're waiting to have that go through. And then
Pending the board approval, yes.
okay, and then there would be a demolition, and then you want to build this lovely new house.
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't have any questions about the process. That's being handled elsewhere in the city.
Yes.
And I think the presentation is very clean. It was easy to follow. Appreciate that very much.
All right.
So I'm going to let the other commissioners start by asking any questions that they may have. And Bill, you want to start?
I'd be glad to. On the
Can you
demolition.
turn up, Bill, can you make yourself louder?
Okay. Let me
Or,
move.
on your computer, you can just turn up that little mic.
Yeah. Is it better now?
Much better.
Okay. Yeah, just a few things really. I'm really pleased with what Danielle's doing here. Wow. It's gonna blow away everybody on 4th Street, I think.
That's
I
the
just want to
plan.
ask a quick question on the demolition. Is that going to include the shed and the house? Or are we going to leave the shed?
For now, the shed will remain. Certainly pending the budget and our budget constraints, I would like for the shed to come down too.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. And looking at the house, it's beautiful. You're going to love it. The only thing that I can say is in the back where the steps, you come up like sideways. Is there going to be a rail there, Danielle? Because you're coming in sideways and the door's on the left in the back. Now, I know we don't look at the back, but I was just looking at that from a safety standpoint. Is that going to have some kind of rail for that since you're coming up the steps sideways there from a safety?
Certainly we can add a rail to it. You're speaking to actually a rehab therapist. So I'm building this house with the intention to age in place. So most certainly a railing, can be added. Certainly if that's the recommendation of the panel.
Yeah, it wasn't drawn on there just because if the landing's less than 30 inches by code, it doesn't have to have one, but with kids and stuff, it might not be a bad idea.
Okay, great. Other than the house is beautiful. And all the materials are materials that we've approved. Putting it on 2 lots there, that's great. That's just fabulous. It's a great addition. Madam Chair, I have nothing else.
Okay, thank you very much, Bill. Michael?
Yeah, I have to agree as well. We have to abide by City Code 19759, and the primary criteria for a non-contributing structure is the impact that it has on the streetscape. And this particular structure is extremely attractive. It blends in very, very nicely with the roof lines and dormers of surrounding properties. It just demonstrates a strong compatibility with the historical and architectural relationship. As presented, is extremely attractive. White trim, navy shutters, black hardware, and the mint siding. No, I really, really think that the owners and the designers did a tremendous job in moving this application forward, and I think it'll be a real contribution to the town and the streetscape. And I also noticed as well that should resources permit, you folks would also like to incorporate, it looks like cedar fencing on the property, and that looks quite lovely as well with the lovely garden gate. So that's it for me.
Okay, great. Michael, we lost your video. We can't see you anymore.
What happened?
I don't know. I don't
I'm
know.
back. Sorry.
Oh,
I'm
there you
back.
are.
There we
You're
go.
back. You're
Okay.
back. Very good. Thank you. Okay, Phil, do you
Yeah,
have any
I,
comments?
I agree with everything that was just said by both commissioners. It's really a beautiful addition to the street, and the only thing that I look at on the drawing, it says these drawings are conceptual and not intended for construction. Does that mean there are changes ahead based on the prices that you get together? And will we be part of, if you're going to be revising anything, will we be part of those revisions?
Yeah, the draftsman puts that on there just because those aren't meant to build the house off of, meaning I can't go take those to the city and get a permit. So outside is locked in. It's just any changes we do for budget purposes are going to be interior. We kind of have to keep the outside how it's going to be.
Okay, so in the end, the columns that you show on the front at the front door are the columns that we're going to see
Correct.
with the base and the capital. I mean, all of it is detailed beautifully. It's just the word conceptual that's a little misleading.
It's basically a preliminary set of plans just to get approval through you guys. And then once we go to get a permit, Robin will see the final set that's meant for construction.
Yeah, I think that's normal for us, you know, we get enough information so we know what the intent is. And, but you can't build by it. We don't want the applicants really to go to all that trouble for a design presentation.
Sure, I agree. Yeah, I agree to that.
And I think there's, you know, as you mentioned, everybody's mentioned so far, there's a lot of information here. And I think it's, you know, it's very thorough. It's a very thorough package.
Yeah, and beautifully drawn.
Yeah, Danielle's picked all her selections ahead of time, so it kind of makes everything go a lot smoother.
Well, that's great. That's great. Okay, Randy, you have something to add or?
I think that it is a very well put together application. It's a beautiful house, Ms. Jones. I think it's going to be a great addition to that section of 4th Street. I want to know if you're going to keep the doormat that you currently have, though, because my dog thinks it's funny. And if anybody else knows what a doormat says, you would get that joke. But it's about a dog needs to needs to go to training, just like my dog does. So it's an adorable thing. I think it's a beautiful application. I think that it meets all of the standards. I have one small observation of classical colonial architecture. I've looked at your floor plans. This is probably not possible to change, but if those two center dormers lined up over top of the windows, then it would meet every architectural standard of a colonial exterior. But in looking at the upstairs, I don't know that you can make that and slide them over. It looks like that would cause some problems. So that was the only observation that I had. It is an absolutely beautiful home. And I do hope there's enough room on that doorstep for that mat, though, or a new one.
It'd be a bigger doorstep.
Yes. I too looked at the two dormers and I thought I even tried lining them up with the stair going up and all, and you can't. You'd have to rearrange the second floor plan to have the one of the dormers and put slide into a nondescript space. And so it's the floor plan is your floor plan, and the exterior is something for us to comment on, and the exterior is beautiful.
The while we're on the dormers, there is that one dormer that looks like just a dead enclosed space. Am I reading that right? On the second floor?
Pulling up the plan here now. Let's see.
And to the left of that dormer, which is partially connected to the stair, or that area,
so
there's that little funny indent, and I couldn't tell because there isn't a section.
that's going to be hidden inside like the roof rafters, like you won't see that.
All right, well,
But yeah, that
was my
dormer is kind of a
question.
false dormer, just so the main roof look balanced. If we, one iteration had 3 dormers and we didn't really like that. Danielle liked 4 dormers better, but to do it, we had to put kind of a fake one in there. So what we typically do is we'll black out the walls or black out the backside of that window. So from the street, you can't see to attic, basically. If that
So
makes sense.
you can never access that space,
Correct.
and you'll never, ever have to wash that window.
Yeah.
I've done
I mean,
that.
once it's framed, there may be a way we could get like a little cubby hole or something out of that one walk-in closet to get in there just to clean the window. But
Oh, I think access to there would be a great place to hide your Christmas presents and things like that,
hopefully we can. With a Cape Cod, it should be. I mean, she might have to belly crawl from that closet, but we should be able to get access to it, at least to put a candle in the window or something.
Yeah. Well, that, whatever you do will be fine. I mean, as Phil said, we're looking at the streetscape and things like that. I happened to circle that spot because there wasn't enough information to tell me what happened there, where it sort of bumped into the closet. But no, that's fine.
Yeah, it is kind of an odd spot, but I think it makes the overall roof look good with the 4 dormers.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
Plus the center one, if we did the 3, the center one kind of messes up the front porch look, and then you got to change that, and this just worked for everybody.
That's fine. Yeah. Okay. So who do we have next? George.
Yeah.
Any comments?
I'm just going to echo my fellow commissioners. This is an absolutely beautiful design, and I think it's going to be a great addition to 4th Street. So 2 thumbs up.
Great. And Joe?
Yeah, I had a very beautiful house. All comments are nice. I was just wondering about the shutters, and I think I tracked down the material. They're composite shutters. That was.
Yeah, it's Atlantic Premium shutters. It's like a factory finished shutter. It's composite, so it won't rot, won't sag.
Need to be painted or anything. Okay.
No, you buy it factory finished. I mean, maybe in 10 years it might fade, and if you want it to look fresh again, you could paint them. But
Very good. I was also wondering about the heating system. I see you have the air conditioning condenser units out in the back. Is it propane fired or electric?
it's probably going to be a heat pump with a gas backup for the first floor, and then the second floor will be a straight heat pump.
So your propane tank will be in the backyard buried probably?
Yeah, as long as the Does that have to be in the building
You-
restriction line or just
You
inside the
you should
property?
have access to natural gas there.
Oh,
Oh, it runs up,
There's
yeah,
no-
that's right, it does. It runs to the hospital up that road.
Yeah, there's natural gas on 4th Street, so we can get you in touch with the people at Chesapeake that you need. If you
Oh,
don't have that
perfect. Natural
information.
gas is less expensive, so we may just do a furnace with a heat pump backup.
okay, all right. Have you talked to BPW about the, right now, I believe the existing house has a electrical service comes on the side. You want to put it to the back. Would they have any problem with the electrical service to the rear of the house?
No, because the house I just built on Painter Avenue, we had to trench it within 5 feet of their pole. So as long as we trench it and put the conduit in, they'll pull their wire to it.
All right, they're good with that.
Yep.
The other thing too on appearances and the utilities, the venting of the bathroom should all be in the back half of the roof. So you don't see the white pipes coming up in the front of the house.
Oh yeah, the vents are gonna go in the back. I'd never
Very
put
good.
vents in the front.
Okay. One thing, it's not connected. I was just wondering what your driveway material is gonna be.
I believe we decided on asphalt, didn't we,
Yes.
Danielle?
Yes.
Blacktop? Yeah.
Okay. Barbara, is that a non-issue for the asphalt driveways?
It's not, we don't have code review on that.
Okay, all right. Great, looks good. Fine with me.
Okay, great.
Right.
Okay, if there are no other questions, could I have someone, I also think it's a fabulous presentation. And as everyone else has said, it's going to be a real asset to the community and to 4th Street. And did a great job of following all the guidelines, that we have in our ordinance, which makes it an easy job for us. So now may I have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the application from Danielle Jones for 315 West 4th Street for demolition of the existing non-conforming structure with a replacement of the home as drawn and submitted here, which meets all of chapter 197, 56, and 59.
A second?
Sorry, I want to interrupt. Commissioner Burton, would you add that that would be contingent upon the consolidation of the lots?
Oh, well, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, contingent upon having the lots consolidated that allow for the structure to fit there. Yeah.
And if I may, and I think the homeowner said something about possibly, should we do the shed too in the future demolition so that it's all clean? So she don't have to come back if she wants to tear the shed down.
Yes.
So moved.
And the fence,
Okay, Michael, second.
I second, but should we add the fence as well?
I think
It's
that's
part of the
pack-
application.
It's part of the
Okay.
application
Okay.
already.
I
Mhm,
second the motion. Okay, thank you.
Great. Okay,
Quick question, were we going to put in there the addition of a rail to the back steps?
I don't
Or is
think
that
it's
just-
in our purview. That's a code issue.
Yeah, correct.
That's just optional. I'm just talking about for the letter.
oh, for the, no, Robin said that would be covered with the code and he
Okay,
would take care of that.
so, yeah, so that won't be included.
No. that
And
won't
it's
be.
also on the back.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so, Brian, do we need to go around again, or do you have enough information? Would you like us to go?
If you don't mind, Madam Chair, I think that would just be a benefit, just to make sure we have a clean record.
Okay, we're gonna just go around in the same order, and if you just make a statement on, for the record, on
Okay.
the approval and the connection to the code. Bill, you wanna go first?
Okay. After reviewing the new house proposed, it fits in nicely on 4th Street. All the materials comply with those that we've approved in the past and present. I think it's a great addition to our town and to that street, and therefore I approve.
Okay, thank you. Michael?
Yeah, because the proposed house is in the historic district and is in harmony with the streetscape as relevant to the facade treatment and height and proportion. I recommend approval.
Okay, thank you. Phil?
I also recommend approval based on what the two previous commissioners have said, and that it is contributing to the improvement of the streetscape.
Great. Randy?
I approve for the motion as entered by me.
Okay, thank you. George?
I vote in favor of the application because it does comply with our requirements and also will vastly improve the streetscape on 4th Street.
Okay, great. Joe?
I approve of the motion for all, as per all the previous comments. Thank you.
Okay, great. And I too approve of the motion. It meets all of our guidelines and the standards that we have in our ordinance. And it's, again, will be a nice asset to the community and to Lewis. So thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
You're
Take
very
care.
welcome. Thank you.
And you'll
Okay.
stay away from Randy's dog.
Likewise.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Okay, then number 2.
And
Do you guys need us anymore? Are we good?
No, you are free to go.
All right.
Thank you
I'll see you when
very
you get
much.
back from San Francisco, Robin.
Yeah.
See you later.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye. All right, and our next application is presentation and possible action on a request by John Lester on behalf of Eileen I'm not going to get this one. McInerney? I'm not sure I'm pronouncing your name right, sorry. And Joseph Salem for the renovation of the existing dwelling and demolition of an accessory structure for the construction of an addition to the right side of the dwelling. The property is located at 122 BB Avenue, Sussex County Tax Map 335-8.11-113.01 R4H contributing. And it's 122 BB Avenue. And who is going to present? John?
Barbara, I'm going to recuse myself.
Oh,
It's my-
thank you. Thank you. John, are you joining us? I can't hear you, John.
John, you're muted and no video.
Yeah, John, can you unmute and put your camera on?
Trying to get sound now.
Okay, I think you got sound. Now we just need a camera. I don't know, does Janelle need to do that?
I think he's good enough. He just has to do it on his, there he goes.
There he is.
Oh, there he is. Very good. Okay. And then do we also have the homeowners with us?
Yes.
Is that you? Okay. How do you pronounce your last name? I think I butchered it.
You did fine. McInerney, like 2 guys, McInerney.
Oh, yeah, McInerney. Oh, I like that. Very good. All right. Well,
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
oh, that's a nice presentation, John. Very creative repurposing of that space. Certainly does a lot for the streetscape. Do you want to go through it for us?
Yeah, simply put, the concrete block garage that sits on the property right now is approaching actually on the property behind it. So we have a chance to correct the positioning of that. We'll be within proper guidelines of setbacks, and it will provide room for a kitchen on the first floor, and on the second floor, computer room. It's a non-conforming structure. It was built in, I have it here someplace.
Yeah,
2001.
2001.
Right. Yeah, non-conforming, and we would like to clean up the architecture there. There's a little bit of everything thrown in right now with fancy posts and rails and mock Victorian trim. So we're going to simplify that a little bit with boxing in the posts on the front porch and changing the windows on the second floor so that it's not a ribbon window across the front. But as you'll see in page 2 of the drawings, what we plan to do with the windows. And we would like to replace the vinyl siding on the front with the hardy plank and the addition hardy plank.
Is there vinyl siding on the sides and the back too?
There is, yeah.
Okay, you're not going to replace that though.
Like not to, yeah. It's a major addition to do that.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Major addition to the application to do.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay. All right. Anybody, let's see, why don't we reverse it? Joe, you want to go first this time?
Yeah, I was slightly confused. I was reading the original NPS survey form about the register for that location. It's at the bottom of the page
Mm-hmm.
for 122. And that paragraph ends with a central chimney sits just behind the ridge. And I don't think there's ever been a chimney there. Well, I don't know, but I mean, there's no chimney and no fireplaces through the first or second floor, so.
Well, this was, if you read the description, this house obviously has gone through a lot of modifications over its life. And it started as it started as a small 1-story, 3-bay rectangular plan. And now, of course, we see that it's a 2-story structure. So that was added, and, you know, there were modifications made, you know, through the years. So that's why you have some.
Chimney went away, okay.
Yeah, so, you know.
All right. The only other thing was about, there was a note on there about new shingles on the addition to match the original. And the original shingles are 20 years old, which is sort of like their lifetime, but you may not be able to match the shingles to the existing, but
Same color, basically.
do your best, yeah. Will there be, keep a driveway to the right?
There
Or
will,
parking?
there will be a partial driveway to the right.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, other than that, that's all I have, all the questions. I'm good.
Okay, great. Let's see, George, you want to go next?
Yeah, I think it's another good design and a lovely design. I think it's going to improve the BB Street. I think it's wonderful.
What?
I think it's a wonderful design, a wonderful addition to the street.
Great, thank you. I do too. Randy?
I think that it's a well-assembled application. I think we would expect nothing less from Mr. Lester with his applications to this body, and I think that it meets all of the standards. Being the critical one that I am sometimes, the only question I have is the casement window over the sink in the kitchen, which faces that side wall. Appears that it would be the only window now in the house that does not have mullions or any dividers in it. And is that something that would be addressed? John, could you put check rails in there, or have it look like a 2/2 like all of your other windows do?
If that's available, we'll certainly put that in. The reason we use the casement there, it's much easier to reach across and turn a crank than it is to lift. It's hard on your back to lift a double hung window leaning over a counter.
I agree completely, John, and I think that Anderson would put a check rail in there and make it look like a small double hung. You know, just if we're keeping continuity of the rhythm of things, that would be important, I think.
Sure.
I think
Let's
it's drawn that way, isn't it?
No,
On your elevation?
no, it's two casement windows with no dividers.
Well, I don't know. I'm looking at a drawing 2. And,
On the side of the house,
oh, I thought you were talking about the street side.
Mhm.
You're not talking about the street side?
The window above the new kitchen
the
sink.
right end elevation.
Okay, sorry.
First level.
Got it. Okay, my mistake.
And it's the only window that doesn't have mullions, so that's all.
We've had other applications that had similar situations, and they're able to order a window that replicates the double hungs.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think I agree with Randy on that one.
Good suggestion.
Mhm. Anything else, Randy?
That's all I have.
Okay, George? Or which way am I going?
You
I'm
want
going to
Phil?
Phil. I'm going to Phil next, aren't I? Confused
Is it
myself.
my turn?
Yes, it's your turn, Phil. Thank you.
Okay. I think it's a very sensitive addition to the house and it fits in. The only question I have is the replacement of the columns, and I guess railing is not required, but if you would just tell me a little bit about what are the new details on the front porch? Are they wood or are they some composite material? Are they turned or are they square?
They're
John.
square. Good question. It really been trimmed out like a little dollhouse, and we wanted to get away from that kitschy look.
I
So
agree.
We're going to square those up just by leaving the posts that are there, but casing them in a 1x material.
I
And
see.
since deck floor is wood, we'll probably trim them in wood and paint.
So there'd be a base and a capital plus the square column.
It actually would just take the post that's there. That will be the center core of it, but we'll box around it.
Sure. Okay. I was just looking for a little more detail than just a square
It'll
straight to the floor.
right
A
straight to
little
the,
bit of a base or a little bit of a capital. Nothing fancy, just another, straight piece of 1x material.
to the front elevation here.
At the base, 8 inches high.
Yeah, I have some trim around it. If you'll note near the top and the bottom, it shows some horizontal lines close together. That's the trim part that we would use.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Michael? We lost your picture again, Michael. Just have your name.
It's muted.
Barbara, I recused myself, Barbara.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Oh, you're absolutely right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Bill.
Okay, just quick. I really like, John, good to see you, John. I really like what you did in the front here with that second level, and the windows in the front just brings the house all together. I want to ask you about that Gothic window, had a railing around it. Are we doing anything other than taking that railing out there?
Trailing off, that stays there. And if you'll notice the shading on the roof, on the drawing of the roof, that's because there's a change in the pitch. The darker part is almost shed-like.
Yeah.
So lines would run closer together on a drawing. And then the back part is the main A.
Okay.
But we're going to leave that element there. It would be a major change to remove that.
That's fine. Okay, let's see. The fish scale in the front for the
Right. got rid of those
You're
too.
getting rid of that, but now you also have fish scale on both sides of the house on the second level. Are you getting rid of that too?
Well, we plan to replace all that with bevel siding.
Okay. Well, since it's, it was built in 2001, then fine, If it were, 1870 or 1880, I'd say, no.
No, we wouldn't try to do that, but this is really recreating a period here, which when I was on the commission for all those years, we kind of spurned fake trim.
Yes, we did. And then I really like, the garage is coming out, which went all the way back to the line. So that corrects the code there. You're right. That's a goodie.
Yeah.
It's not a very large lot to work from, is it?
No, it's not.
Yeah. So other than that, Barbara, that's all I have.
Okay, great. Well, John, I think I'm going to echo some things that have already been said. Number one, great presentation, very creative solution there, both inside and out. I really like the layout. You did an outstanding job, as we always know you do. And it meets all our code and our requirements. And I think it's a great solution to kind of a challenging situation there. Good outcome. Yes. So I think if anybody has,
Barbara, I was just going to say, I agree with Randy regarding that window down on the right side. I agree with him that we do need to improve that.
Right. Yes, to make sure that it replicates the pattern, the mutton pattern. Okay, and we can probably cover that in the motion. Is that okay with you, John?
Fine.
Okay. All right. So does anybody want to make a motion? If they have no other comments, we can go ahead and make a motion. So,
Madam Chair, if I may, if somebody's going to make a motion, I would advise that you do the demolition of the garage first.
Okay.
Because it is a separate, it's an accessory structure, even though it's all part of the application. That way it kind of maybe cleans it up better.
All right, very good. May I have a motion first to approve the demolition of the existing concrete block garage?
So moved.
All right, Randy made the motion. Do I have a second?
I second it.
That was Bill?
Second.
Yeah.
Phil, did you?
Yes, I second it.
Okay. All right. And all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, carried. Brian, do we need to go around and say why we're approving the demolition?
Yeah, if you can just be brief, again, for the record, I think it's a good idea to make sure that, especially since it's a demolition, that it might be a good idea to make sure that we include that in the record.
Okay, very good. Let's get my little list. Bill, you want to go first? Why
Yes, I approve because it brings this lot into code, and it's laying there on the back line, and I'm glad to see that go out of there. I'm sure Robin is too. So this corrects it. So and it's a concrete block garage, just a single garage. I don't see where it adds that much to the street, so I approve.
Okay, thank you. And Michael? Oh, Michael's not participating. Phil? Phil?
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. It's a sensitive addition to the house.
Oh, no, wait. We're just doing this motion is for the demolition of the concrete block garage.
Yes. I'm sorry. I agree with what has been said by the two previous commissioners.
Right. Okay, Randy?
I agree that as a non-contributing structure that is also non-compliant for zoning, that it is in the best interest to have that structure removed and move forward with something better.
Okay, George?
I approve the demolition of the garage because if you don't demo the garage, you can't build the addition.
Good reason. Joe?
Concrete block garages get no respect, but nobody will miss it. I agree.
Okay, and I agree that, for all the reasons that have been stated so far, and it will now allow for a very much improved structure. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, next we need a motion to approve the new project, including the modification to the side window so that it repeats the pattern of the other windows. Somebody want to make a motion? Oh,
I will, if no one else will.
okay.
I'll try to. Okay. Let me just get my bearings here. Okay, because the application concerns a property that is located at 122 BB Avenue and is a contributing structure, it uses previously approved materials, conforms with the rhythm and scale of the requirements, and is in the Lewis Historic District. I move that this application be approved with the following changes, and that is the window on the right side is to replicate a double hung window to conform with the other windows of the house.
Great, thank you. May I have a second?
I second it.
Okay, Phil.
Madam Chair, I'm going to try to jump in here a second.
Sure.
I think there needs to be a clarification. And, I think it was said, again, showing the documents from the 1992 register, it shows it was contributing. But I think Mr. Lester has noted that this was a new home, a different, it was not built in the 60s. It was built, or it's a 2000, the house was built in 2001. Is that correct, Mr. Lester? Is that what you said?
That's right.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I talked to University of Delaware, who are doing our resurveys, and I asked them about that and how they had resurveyed it. Their resurveying then gets approved by the state historic office, and they determined, and you can correct me, but they determined that this is still the original old house,
Right.
but it's just been added on to and modified. So they still consider it a contributing house. Now, the fact that it's gone through so many variations and changes and everything else, they don't recommend classifying it with the same criteria as another contributing structure that still is very similar to the original construction. But that's the advice I got today. So, I don't know, John, where you acquired that material and whether they were talking about whether that is really stating when it had all this work done to it, because it certainly isn't the house that was originally built there. But are you saying that the house that was there originally was demolished at one time?
That's my understanding of it. And it came from the realtors on the listing sheet. Shows 2001, built 2001. But there was a different house there, a single-story house. That
Speaking as a realtor, I would not rely on that information.
Well, the owner transferred that information to the realtor about the date of birth.
We put on our fact sheets information deemed reliable but not guaranteed. So I wouldn't go on I wouldn't go on that statement.
I will just say that part of the ceiling has been opened there, and it looks like new joist to me.
The ceiling of the first floor.
Yeah, the joists look fresh.
Well, I would expect that if the second floor addition had been built about that time, that would make sense, wouldn't it?
It would, either case, either it was scratch or built as an addition.
I mean, you'd almost have to go underneath the first floor, wouldn't you, to see the construction there, to determine if it's a historic structure?
There was a way to see that, yes, but we were told that it was a new building in the 2001.
Well, talking to the University of Delaware, Chad, that's doing our resurveying, and the information they had, they can't support that. They think based on their information, they're saying, no, this is still the original old one-story house. It's just been rebuilt and modified and added on to. And that's the only information we have to go on. Now, I don't think that impacts this application. It's just that we have that information that it's contributing because it was at one time a contributing structure, part of it. And that is what the state of Delaware is still carrying forward on structures that have had major changes to them. And it's sort of the historic office, SHPO.
That was the reason for my comment, because I don't want the motion to say contributing if we're not going to say it's contributing, because it does affect the material on the front of the house.
Well, I understand that. And when I spoke to Chad today, I said, well, then we should have another way to review and allow for more, not to hold a still categorized or tagged as contributing structure. We should not hold them to the same standards as other contributing structures if they've gone through so many changes that, I mean, the fact that it has vinyl siding on the front, isn't that what you said?
Yes, it's got vinyl, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that in itself, there's nothing there to save. It's no longer has the elements of a contributing structure when they've completely taken away that. Now, I mean, that's the information I have. And to me, this structure may say it's contributing because that's what the state of Delaware is still tagging, a building that was significantly contributing at one time, that is historic in date, but shouldn't prohibit, good improvements going forward. Now, I don't know. I think it's an approvable project, but I'm not sure what the lawyer wants us to do, or I understand where you're coming from, Robin. You're recognizing the documents that we have. I do not think it should be held to the same standards as a historic contributing structure that exactly what it's always looked like.
I'm not disagreeing with your comments, and I understand that.
Good.
The section of the ordinance that says natural materials matching or substantially similar to the original siding shall be used on front elevations of contributing structures. That's the wording in your ordinance.
Mhm.
So unless you somehow say this is no longer contributing due to the fact that it's been massively renovated, I don't know, and I'm not the attorney here, but I just was clarifying for future cases.
I tend to agree with Robin on what, if that's what the ordinance says and that's what it says, that's the rubric by which you judge it. Now, is the vinyl's pre-existing now, and so is that being removed?
It is,
Okay.
but it's not the original siding. I don't know. Have you tried to take any of the vinyl off? Is the original siding below it?
The house was destroyed.
No,
Well, if there's nothing to preserve.
no.
But I guess my one thing that has come up today that if you guys are, if what is telling you this is a contributing structure and that's what your ordinance requires you to abide by, then you need to evaluate it as a contributing structure, unless there's some other way or mechanism that's in our code that allows you guys to change a status from contributing to non-contributing.
And which has been done in the past.
Yes.
Because again, this National Register listing was done in 1992.
Mm-hmm.
So there has been a lot of dwellings in the city that do not even match what's on the National Register listing.
Mhm.
And the commission has always used their discretion. But the motion was, as was started to be stated, it was that this was still contributing. So you have to try to make sure that, again, you can't say contributing and then allowed hardy plank on the front of this dwelling.
Well, I will reevaluate the motion to change it from contributing to non-contributing.
Is that all we have to do, or do we have to have a discussion and a vote about
Madam
Okay.
Chair, I think that you're taking the words right out of my mouth, is I think that if you're going to recategorize this, then there needs to be some sort of official action on this front.
Okay. All right, then may I have a motion that states that because this contributing structure has been altered significantly, that we should not,
Well, I will make that motion that, that we change the status of this property from contributing to non-contributing because of all the changes that have been made over the years, that it does not represent the original contributing structure.
okay. May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Joe.
Oh, Phil, okay.
Joe had his hand up first. Okay. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Anyone opposed? All right. Brian, would you like us to go around? Okay. Okay. All right. Starting with George, would you like to make a statement for the record on? why you
Yes,
support-
I think that this demolition and addition is going to vastly improve BB Avenue. I think it's a great design, and I'm all in favor, so I approve this application as.
Hold on.
Wait, just 1 second. Right now, we're just making a motion to reclassify it as,
Oh, I thought we already did that.
well, we did, but Brian
Yeah.
wants everybody to make a supporting statement
Oh,
for the
well,
record. Sorry.
I will, my supporting statement is my motion, that because the property has been modified so much over the years that it is no longer a contributing structure.
All right. Thank you, George. Let's see. Next is Joe.
That we've determined that the structure is non-contributing and that we are revising its status.
Okay. Thank you. Randy?
I agree with the motion as presented for the following reasons. I believe that this is a perfect example of properties within the historic district of Lewis that were at one point contributing structures that have been previously modified to a point prior to our authority that grants them the ability to then reclassify the property. And I think that it is a supportable thing because of the modifications that are looking to be done here. And I think that it's important that we maintain the streetscape throughout the historic district. So I support the motion for all those reasons listed.
Thank you. Phil? Now we're just supporting the reclassification.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I'm talking to Phil.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
You're talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you. I'm just reminding you that right now we have a motion to reclassify this structure from contributing to non-contributing.
Okay, I agree with Randy in that this structure has been added to and altered over the years so that it does not fall into the category of contributing, and it is now a and I agree that it is a non-contributing structure.
Great, thank you. Bill?
Yes, I would just say that it's non-contributing, and if you were to take it back to contributing, you couldn't. So therefore, it's non-contributing. And I think what John is trying to do here is taking a non-contributing building and fit it in with the neighborhood as best as possible and keep it within a Victorian look, which our town represents. So therefore, I approve.
And I also support this reclassification. And I think Bill just made a really good point. In the preservation guidelines, when you do modifications, additions, they're supposed to be done in a way that if you ever remove them, you would still have the original historic contributing structure. And although that could be very challenging on almost every one of our projects, it still could be done. You have not lost the original structure. Where this, it is, you know, apparently gone, other than the first floor street elevation, perhaps, you know, other than that, that's about it. So I do think it's very appropriate to reclassify this structure as non-contributing. So that taken care of. Now we can vote on the application from John Lester for the modifications to this structure. And may I have another motion to vote on that?
Wait, you still have my original motion, but I modified that to change from contributing to non-contributing.
Yes. Yes, we have that.
And it was seconded, so it's just discussion, Barbara.
Okay,
Or
thank you.
vote.
All right, so anybody have any comments before we take a vote? We have a motion and a second. All right, then let's go around. We'll start with Bill.
I approve.
Pardon?
I approve for all the reasons
For all the reasons we already.
that we mentioned earlier.
Okay, Phil?
I agree also. It's a sensitive addition to a non-contributing structure and I approve of it.
Great. Randy?
I believe that this is the right action for us to take for this non-contributing structure, and that the improvements will help to return it to a more historic character on the street.
Great. George?
I approve this application as modified with the window because it will make a great improvement to BB Avenue.
Good. Joe?
I'll agree with all the previous comments, but the best part is the fact you're beefing up those columns in the front porch. Totally spindly now. They need a little oomph.
Okay. I too agree,
Joe.
I too agree with the motion. I think this is a great improvement and to the streetscape. It's, you know, it follows all our guidelines and our standards. And I thank you very much, Mr. Lester, for an excellent proposal.
Madam Chair, if I may, just a clarification for myself when the building permit application comes in. These fish scales on the sides of the house, they said they're going to be removed. Is that going to be hardy plank put up in those lap siding? Is that what's going to be put there?
You're talking about in the gable ends?
Yes, where the commissioner asked about the.
Yeah. My answer to that was on the front A, where the front door is centered, those will go and the siding will be changed. But that's the only fish scales that we plan to change.
So on the side of the house, they're going to stay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you're going to have to adjust that one side because you're adding on there because the fish scales go down to the eave.
Yeah.
Just clarification for me. That's what I just wanted.
Yeah.
I thought it was that they were all going to be removed.
We didn't want to touch the sides in the back.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
So it's just the new siding is just the front
And the addition.
and just the addition, and all the other side and back surfaces stay untouched.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see, where are we? Did we take a vote yet? Everybody in
Well done.
favor?
Carried.
Yes, and anyone opposed? No. So now we go around again. And let's see, George, you want to start again with why you voted yes to support this project?
I thought we did that already.
Oh, did we?
Okay, it's all carried.
It's all carried. I think we're on to the next application, Madam
Oh,
Chair.
are we? My gosh, it's taking so long. Thank you. Thank you.
All
Okay.
right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Great,
Here,
John.
John.
All right. So the next one is our application for the Kindle restaurant. Is Matt here?
I should be. There we
Oh,
go.
hey, there you are.
Great.
Hey, Matt.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can
yes.
see you too.
All right, good. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, you're not in San Francisco like Robin.
Right down the street.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. Did you notice he's got a San Francisco?
Oh, I did. I like it. I like it.
I like it too. I want to know how you get one.
Green screen.
All right. You want to tell us a little about your project?
Sure. Thank you all for taking the time to review and the consideration for this proposal to Kindle. I'm assuming all of you are aware that the parcel of the building that we're considering tonight is basically a covered porch patio. And our intentions are to close in that space on the exact same footprint to transform it into interior dining space for the restaurant.
Okay. I have a quick question before I forget. I'm looking at the side elevation. Is there a side elevation of what will become the corridor space to the front door? Didn't you say that there was going to be a window there?
There is going to be, so probably the best way to look at that would be like page 4, which is the first actual photo that's included.
Oh. You don't have an elevation of that then? Of that wall?
I don't have one even drawn, just because it's basically like, a corridor, kind of
Right.
a hallway there. But what the idea there is to mirror the same window that's on the existing side of that entrance way onto the right side there.
On the opposite side?
Correct.
Okay.
As you're walking up to the front door, there's a side-by-side double hung window that's basically like one unit on the left side.
Mhm.
And then we're looking to mirror that on the right side.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, let's, did you want to add anything else before I get comments?
I'm totally, I don't know what else to add, besides, that the nice thing about this addition, in my opinion, is that the street elevation is going to be set out a little bit from the existing front elevation of the building and a couple feet out from the half full adjacent elevation. So it gives us some back and forth, if you will, instead of having kind of this just flat, streetscape, so to speak. I don't know what the right terminology is for it.
No, that's right. Mhm. Yeah, no, that's true.
I think
Okay.
it's good.
Let's see. Bill, Landon, do you want to start?
Thank you very much. Matt, it's good seeing you.
It's good to see you, Bill. Thanks.
We've done a few along the way, being on the cart there for.
We have, yes.
years.
Yeah.
And you do good work, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Okay, in fact, when I reviewed your facility here, you've got some real pit bulls in the house. As soon as I spent about 30 seconds there, they want to know, what am I doing around here? So,
Okay.
I didn't stay too long and I don't
Must
have
have
too
been
many
on a
questions.
closed day. Sorry about that.
No, they're good. Don't fire them. They're good. You got good
Alright.
people there, believe me. I did have I noticed in this drawing that shows the layout, it shows it in yellow, you see. And when I looked at it, it looks like to me, you're just really closing pretty much a square. But here it looks like is it going to go into that other area? Am I confusing you? Because I probably am.
Yes.
It's this drawing here that shows like 2601, 27, 25, 26. It actually shows the lots. See that in yellow? Do you see?
I actually don't have what you're referring to in front of me. I just have the packet that I gave you guys. I don't have anything in the
Do
yellow.
you see that, Robin?
Yeah, see, I put that in to show the overlay of the site.
I
Okay,
think,
because
isn't 2601 Kindle's, the current Kindle, and that little 3773?
It's just a picture of the tax map that he's talking about. Matt.
yeah, in this
Okay.
30, so this 3773 is the closed in area, right?
I think so.
Yes, correct.
Okay, we'll come off that now.
Yes.
No more confusion here. Okay, I was wondering.
So Bill, just to, and for everybody else, the space that will be enclosed is the exact same footprint as the existing porch.
That's what I thought. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so anyway, I think it's going to look really nice. This window in the front, is it going to have the same 4-inch trim around the window like you have on the rest?
Well, our
On the other
plan
one?
is to match the trim to existing trim on the building.
Okay, and then let me see. This is out of my lane, but I'm going to ask the question. Robin, as far as fire code goes, you know, the entry to that is from that door you see there, but you got to go to the back door to actually go into that area. It's going to be closed in. And the only way out would be that door or the door that's all the way that they're adding in the back there, but they're close together. So if you had a fire there, everybody would be trapped in. Did you guys look at that from a fire code standpoint? Is that good to go?
So you're going to go, you can go out the front door that you're going to go in. You go in the front door and then you turn right to get into the new area.
Yeah, but
And then
if you
you
had to
gotta-
come out, if you had to come out, you'd have to go through, it's that door and the door in the back, and it's kind of congested in the back there. What I'm saying is
Well, no, because there's a new door in the back. Do you have this plan? Can you see this?
yeah, no, I see it. There is a door in the back, almost next to where the door is that you have. So you have to go in Kindles to go into the
No.
new addition from the back, right?
You go in the hallway.
Yeah,
Go in the hallway.
and then there's
And
a
you-
door on the right, and you
You
go
go
in.
into Kindles. You go into Kindles, and then you take a right. Isn't that correct, Matt?
I can clarify that. So when you come in the front entrance to the restaurant, the wall to your immediate right that exists today is going to completely go away. So the side door that exists now is also going to go completely away, and that's all going to be open space into the new area.
Okay,
I should have clarified that in the plans.
okay.
So there's going to be the egress is very open to the new back door and the existing front door.
That answers it. Okay, great. Okay, that's good to go. Let me see. Also, we're gonna have the trim around that one window that you will see from Bank Street on the right-hand side, right?
Correct.
You'll trim that out too.
Correct.
I know you will. Everything you do is really fabulous.
Thanks.
That's all I have. I think it's going to be a great addition and give you the space you need. I think it's going to be fabulous.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Michael, you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah, no, I definitely think that this contributes greatly to the streetscape, and it'll also contribute to fine dining or more fine dining here in Lewis. I like the fact as well, Matt, that you're respecting the city code and that the materials you're using using wood for the front facing Bank Street, according to the submission, and wood trim. You know, I think that's very, very nice. The only question I had was that in terms of that window, the new window facing Bank Street, it's 3 by 6. And that matches actually very, very nicely with the setup. I know it's a separate building, but if you go around front to half full, that sort of setup is exactly the same delineation as the front windows behind the front door. And I just think that adds a nice touch. It integrates that whole block in that corner. And I don't know whether it'd be possible or not, but and I don't even know whether this is something we could comment on, but I'm going to throw it out there. Those window boxes on the 2nd Street side of half full are very, very nice. And one thing you might want to consider would be the integration of a similar box, if possible, under that new window for the addition on the patio.
Yeah,
But,
that's a great comment. And if my mom has anything to say about that, there will certainly be a flower box to match the one that
anyway, no, I think that this is terrific, and I think that it's really going to add a lot. So
thank you.
Yep.
Good. Phil, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said. I also enjoy eating at at the restaurant with the rectangular pizzas.
Oh, that's next door.
Oh, sorry.
No, he owns them both. They're both his. Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Phil? Phil, anything else?
No.
Okay. All right. Randy?
I think it'll be a great addition, Matt. As you know, I have a great deal of respect for you and what you do in the town of Lewis, the contribution that you continually make, both as a business owner and as a citizen. I think it's a great plan. I'll talk with Mrs. D about the window boxes instead of talking to you about it. My only comment is a little different than everybody else's. In the one thing I questioned, Matt, is why is that window not more the size of the window in the front of Kindle now versus the size of the windows that you do have? Because I get it, they're more harmonious to have full than to that larger window. And maybe that's for spatial reasons in there. And I think overall, the context of it is great. I think if the windows were more similar size, it would be even better. Plus people would be able to see everybody in there. Everybody likes walking by that big window in the front and seeing who's sitting in there and hanging out and all of that. But either way, I don't think that this takes away from the streetscape. It adds to it, and I would move to approve it. And if Jason needs help getting a bigger piece of glass, I'd be happy to help you.
So you bring up a great point, and it's something that we thought about, but you hit the nail on the head. It's a spatial thing, and by that, what I mean is that the floor of the room is going to come up because the existing level right now slopes really hard towards the street. So once we level the interior floor, the floor is going to come up. The header obviously comes down to a certain height. And then the spatial aspect of it is that we're going to have banquette seating across that front wall. And then, so now you have not just the floor, but the height of the banquette.
Yep.
And it makes sense for the window to start just above the back of the banquette.
Okay.
I kind of figured that's what was happening, but so thanks for the clarity there. And I think it'll be a great addition, man.
Thanks. It's a good question.
Great. George?
Yeah, I like the simplicity of the design of the wall. I think it's going to flow seamlessly with the rest of the restaurant, and I couldn't be more pleased.
Thank you.
Great. Joe?
Looks like a great design. The only question I have is when you stand out in the front and look to the back, you see a gate out there. Is that your gate or the neighbor's gate?
It's the same property's gate.
Okay, so that's going to go away once you put
the gate will stay there. So this porch addition does not go back that far. So the gate, when you go out that back door of this new room, you'll be able to go through that gate and continue down the side of the building.
Yeah, I just want to be sure the gate's not going to be locked in case of a fire. Could be a,
It never is.
very good. Okay, right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, I too think it's a great design, and it's going to be a real asset to Kindle's. And you've done a nice job. You've replicated materials, made it very harmonious. You followed all our guidelines, and we thank you.
Awesome.
Good contribution.
Can I ask you guys for a quick piece of advice? Because this was something that I thought of after the fact. The elevation that we're discussing that you see from the street, as I stand across the street from the building, and you'll kind of recognize this more with the live photos, our elevation drawing shows a shiplap siding that matches the lower level of the house, of the building. It just grabbed my attention that I would consider cedar shake on that the new part that we're discussing. And I just wanted to ask you guys for your advice on that. I'll totally stick with the shiplap to match exactly what's there, but I didn't know if y'all would rather see cedar in that area as opposed to the shiplap.
Well, I'm going to
Cedar
take,
shakes.
I'm going to start off, because I have a strong view on that. I think it's very appropriate that it matched the first floor of Kindle's.
Okay.
And the reason is there's not that much wall surface seen from the street on the first floor. And I think you need that additional surface, but I want to hear from everybody else too. So we'll start with Joe.
Sorry to bring up more things for y'all to discuss and think about.
Not a problem. Not a problem. What we're here for. It's our job. It's why we get paid the big bucks.
Right.
Yeah, I like the shiplap. I mean, it's adjacent there on the first floor. The cedar is the second floor. So I would go with the shiplap. Continue that.
Thank you.
George?
Yeah, I would agree with the other two commissioners. I think the continuity or the flow needs to be the shiplap.
Okay, Randy?
Of course, I disagree,
Of course.
but I'll support it as shiplap. But I
Thank you.
personally believe that the cedar shake would enhance, not take away from, and help tie the two structures together. But so be it.
Chocolate and vanilla, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Michael?
No, I think I would continue with the shiplap as well.
Mm. Bill?
I would continue with the shiplap so that it doesn't, so that it all hangs together. You know, I think it'd be kind of piecey, dicey if it were two different materials. I think stick with the shiplap.
Okay. Bill? Landon?
Unlike Randy, I go with the shiplap. His dog must have bit him today or something. He's
Okay. All right. May I have a motion to approve this applicant? Michael?
Sure, because this structure at 111 Bank Street is a contributing structure and is located in the Lewis Historic District, uses previously approved materials and demonstrates a sensitivity to the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation of historic properties. I move that the application be approved as submitted.
All right. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Bill? Okay. And all right, now we're going to go around and Michael, since you made the motion, you can speak first as to why you're supporting this application.
Because it shows general compatibility of the exterior design, arrangement, and texture used to contribute to the established character of Lewis's historic district.
Okay. That's a Bill.
Bill?
Bill,
Okay. I'm with you.
wake up.
No, I'm with you. Sometimes Phil and Bill, we get mixed
Oh,
up.
that's true. You do.
I hesitate.
I'm
to-
sorry.
No,
All right, I'm gonna call you Landon from now
yeah,
on.
I think it's a
Okay,
great-
Landon.
It's a great addition to close it in. And this is one of the most visible spots in Lewis, and you're using all natural materials. Just a great addition to our town. And as always, Matt, you do a good job.
Mhm. Great. All right, Franz, you're next.
Thank you. I agree that it contributes to, in a very positive way, to the streetscape, and I vote yes.
Okay, very good. Randy,
I support the motion to make these changes to the front of this contributing structure in the manner that has
Oh.
been.
it's actually not contributing.
A non-contributing structure.
Yes.
My apologies.
That's okay. All right.
That it continues to enhance the streetscape of downtown Lewis.
Right. All right, George?
I support this application. I think it's the addition is seamless, flows with the rest of the restaurant, and it's beautiful. I do want to point out the agenda does list this as a contributing structure.
Structure, yeah.
Well, why is that?
Yeah, it does say.
Well, we don't have any attachments. I think that was just a typo.
Okay.
No, it's not a typo. If you look
No.
at the National Register listing that was supplied, shows it as a contributing structure.
It was built in circa 1880.
80, and it talks three bag, yeah.
That building was demolished.
Just a little left of it. They didn't take it totally. I
Yeah, they
think
did. They rebuilt that, remember?
rebuilt it, but I think they left a few studs and stuff.
Yeah.
And
I think they reintegrated some of the brackets.
Some of the brackets?
Yep, the Italiante brackets across the top, I think were.
Really?
Yeah, some of the fenestration of the original building was maintained when that building was renovated.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Don't you remember there was a big fuss in downtown? They wanted to hold arms around the building so it couldn't be demolished. I mean, it was, I forget the gentleman, he's no longer here, but he was adamant about that. There was quite a hoopla.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I was pretty sure that it had come down, or at least 90% of it.
Yeah, 90%.
Yeah.
The good thing about it either way is Matt's willing to use natural materials on the front elevation.
Right. So it's not an issue.
Okay, all right, well, there'll be another one of those
The only thing he
surveys.
needs to add is he needs Stu's spaghetti recipe from the bedroom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she never gave it to anyone.
Right.
Well, I don't know. You could always just put that on your menu and just pay tribute to her.
That's
Yeah,
true.
the only thing is the cats ate out of the same kettle, so I don't want that.
Yeah. Okay, where are we on our roll call here? I lost track. I think I've got everybody, don't I? Except myself?
Joe.
Oh, Joe, we were about to ask Joe. Yes. Joe.
Yep. I agree with all of the above. Nice job.
Okay, and I do too. I think it's, as everything that Matt does is very sensitive and well-designed, and always a pleasure to go into his newly altered, and renovated, whatever facilities. It follows all the guidelines that we have, and it's an excellent project. Thank you so very much. But now we have to do our roll call, right? We haven't done that yet. We've just voted. So we'll go back. I'm not sure why we can't do all at once, but we didn't.
Madam Chair, I was under the impression that you guys just did.
We did.
That was the roll call.
That was the roll call? Oh my God. You know, it's really hard to keep track with all these side bets going on.
And on Zoom it is too.
Yeah. I have one more question for Matt. And I saw something that I hope is a typo about striper bites.
No, that's in the Cape Gazette.
Yeah, it's got to be real.
Oh, wow.
Is that true?
We'll have coffee sometime, Barbara, together.
Okay.
It's true. Yeah.
Oh my. Well,
Big Fish
how
Restaurant.
much longer can we go to those striper bites?
Those striper bites is going to be there for a very, very, very long time. There's no intentions to change anything. So I'm looking forward to going in there and having a drink with all of you all and everybody else moving forward.
Good. Okay. Well, we'll have to set that up.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank
All
you
right,
all for your time tonight. I appreciate it very
Thank
much.
you very
Thanks,
much,
Matt.
Matt, and
Thank
good luck on the project.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
We look
Good
forward
luck.
to it.
Thank
Good night.
All right, so that is our last applicant. And The next item on our agenda is update of Phase 7, Resurvey the Historic District. I did talk to Kate Morrissey from Chad, University of Delaware, that's doing the resurveying, and they are waiting for a response from the state. They've done their submissions to the state, and so I don't have anything new to report. So that takes care of that. Next on the agenda is our first item of new business. And this is, I'm going to read it to you. It's discussion and possible recommendation to the mayor and city council for the development of an ordinance to establish criteria for review of historic artifacts in the CH Cultural Historic Zone, referred to HPARC by mayor and council at the February 8th, 2021 meeting. Now, I want to point out that we're only being charged for discussion and possible recommendation to respond, and then we will respond to mayor and city council. It's important that we only discuss what has been written as the agenda item. And I'm sure, a lot of chatter is going on in town, and it may be misconstrued to mean something else. But I don't know if Bonnie, if you or Brian would like to add anything to that.
No, I think you said it well.
All right, Brian, any additional thoughts?
Madam Chair, I do not. And I do know that there has been some pretty significant public interest in this. I do think that after the commissioners have had their opportunity to discuss this a little bit, to open it up to public comment. But I would stress that given our adoption of our bylaws last meeting, that we limit public comment to 3 minutes a person, just so that there's more opportunity for members of the public to discuss, and so that we can, the commission can do what it feels necessary to do out of this meeting.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to just bring the rest of the share some information with the rest of the commissioners before we have kind of a group discussion on this. Since that that meeting on February 8th of mayor and council, I've been both curious and interested to see what I could find out. And so we are involved in several, HPARC is involved in several different organizations. NPS is the National Park Service. They are the ones that drive the regulations to the state. And the state is SHPO, the State Historic Office. They also fund the state office. The state office in turn funds different historic commissions in the town. We are a certified local government, a CLG. You have to apply for that. There are regulations, requirements, and benefits. And by being a CLG, we then receive funds from the state, which in part is what we use every year to continue our resurveying. Those funds can also be used for training, printed material. There's a list that I'll probably read to you later. We also belong, as a CLG, we belong to National Alliance of Preservation Commissions. Now you have to be a CLG to belong to that organization. And there are benefits for that. Last year, we all were able to participate in what they call a forum that they put on every 2 years, which had some really interesting and educational speakers and information. The The other organization that we're involved in is CHAD. That's the Center for Historic Architecture and Design, the University of Delaware graduate program. And that is who we contract, and SHPO also contracts to do the resurveying and other projects for SHPO. This all goes back to, this all started when the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966 happened. And then everybody had to figure out what to do and how to do it, to make it equitable and to protect and to be, to preserve the historic communities that we all cherish. So the National Trust for Historic Preservation also puts together the Secretary of Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties. So it's all layered, and as part of that are benefits and responsibilities, and that we can't make this stuff up. We have, there's flexibility in the guidelines, but there's still responsibilities that we have to observe and execute them. So I'm going to read you a couple of things. So this is, I don't know if you can see this little thick little item. This is from the U.S. Department of Interior's National Park Service. And this document is titled the Secretary of Interior Standards for the Treatment of Historic Properties, with guidelines for preserving, rehabilitating, and restoring and reconstructing historic buildings. They have many, they produced many guidelines like this, covering different aspects of preservation. Sometimes it has to do with elevating historic structures in floodplains. Goes on and on. Anyway, in the beginning of this, let's see, it's the first page. I'm going to read to you. It says the Secretary of Interior standards, which we have as part of our binder of guidelines and the ordinance and regulations. The Secretary of Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties may be applied to one historic resource type or a variety of historic resource types. For example, a project may include a complex of buildings such as house, garage, and barn, the site with a designated landscape, natural features, archaeological components, structures such as a system of roadways and paths, or a bridge, and objects such as a fountain and statuary. It goes through those different items in detail. The point is that they're making is that the guidelines are preservation, restoration, rehabilitation guidelines, and they're to apply to your whole historic district. So I've got a few other tags here. It says using the standards and guidelines for a preservation, rehabilitation, restoration, or reconstruction project. And then it goes through all the details of it. The Secretary of Exterior standards for the treatment of historic properties with guidelines for preserving. It just repeats itself. And then it goes through all the different aspects, whether it's building exterior materials or roofs. It just breaks everything down. Then it gets, I tagged another one that I thought was appropriate. It says, identifying, retaining, and preserving buildings and landscape features which are important in defining the historic character of the setting. Such features can include roads and streets, furnishings such as lights or benches, vegetation, gardens and yards, adjacent open space such as fields, parks, commons, or woodlands, and important views or visual relationships. Retaining the historic relationship between buildings and landscape features of the setting. For example, preserving the relationship between a town common and its adjacent historic house, municipal buildings, historic roads, and landscapes. When you get into this book, this volumes, they start to divide things in columns, the recommended version, and then the not recommended version. So, you know, before it doesn't, there's too much detail in the recommended version of that heading. But not recommended is removing or radically changing those features of the setting which are important to defining the historic character. And it just gets into layers of detail after that. The other items are for the certified local government program and local preservation tools. Preservation through partnership, this is the CLGs, the Certified Local Government Program. Preservation through partnership. This is the goal of the Certified Local Government Program. Local, state, and federal governments work together in the federal preservation program to help communities save the irreplaceable historic character of places. Through the certification process, communities make a local commitment to historic preservation. This commitment is key to America's ability to preserve, protect, and increase awareness of our unique cultural heritage found in the built environment across the country. How? Jointly administered by the National Park Service, the NPS, and the State Historic Office, SHPOs, each local community works through a certification process to become recognized as a certified local government, CLG. Once certified, CLGs become an active partner in the Federal Historic Preservation Program. Each community gains access to benefits of the program and agrees to follow required federal and state requirements. Why? Community certification opens doors to funding, technical assistance, and other preservation successes. Funding. States receive annual appropriations from the Federal Historic Preservation Fund. States are required to give at least 10% of their funding to CLGs as subgrants. These grants can fund a wide variety of projects, including surveys, National Register nominations, rehabilitation work, design guidelines, educational programs, training, structural assessments, and feasibility studies, to name a few. Technical assistance. As a CLG, communities have direct access to SHPO's staff for assistance with their commission, building assessments, surveys, and nominations, and general preservation assistance. State staff and NPS offer regular training for CLGs as well, an added benefit of the partnership each SHPO has designated. Each SHPO has a designated CLG coordinator. Sustainability. Historic preservation has proven economic, environmental, and social benefits. Studies show that historic districts maintain higher property values, less population decline, more walkability, and greater sense of community. Being a CLG demonstrates your community's commitment to saving what is important from the past for future generations. As a certified community, it becomes easy to demonstrate a readiness to take on successful preservation projects, making your community able to compete for new opportunities. So just wanted to, and the certified government CLG program that we have here, this is what the state photographed. You recognize that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right down.
It's right downtown Lewis, King's Ice Cream. And so the comment under this was, Local governments that recognize the importance of historic preservation and its role in creating sustainable, economically viable communities are encouraged to pursue certified local government CLG status, which we have already done. The CLG program strengthens preservation efforts at the local level by providing technical financial assistance while encouraging successful preservation programs and practices. As part of the nationwide CLG program, Delaware's CLG program is administered by the Delaware State Historic Preservation Office, SHPO, in partnership with the National Park Service, NPS. So this is some of the background of how we got to where we are and how hard we've worked and people before us have worked. We also, as I mentioned, belong to the National Alliance of Preservation Commissioners, which we have all joined. The City of Lewis has been a member of that, and it's given us the ability to participate in that really great forum. It also gives us access to other things through NAPC. Recently, they were one of the contacts I made regarding this agenda item, and they said, well, you know, all of the commissioners can sign up for, I forget what they call it, but it's like a chat line. And anytime you have a question about historic preservation, something that maybe we're trying to debate, like, you know, can we change the status of the contributing structure when there's nothing left of the contributing structure? You can just put in a little question and other commissioners will respond. And after I did that a couple of weeks ago, you know, I got some responses and I responded to a couple of people that were asking questions regarding their guidelines, you know, and I think one of it had to do with a question that we address in the building code review that we don't address ourselves. And then when I started to look for a definition of artifact, what I found in just Googling the online is, I need a drink of water here. Artifact. An artifact made by a human being, typically an item of cultural or historic interest. Number two, something observed in a scientific investigation or experiment that is not naturally present, but occurs as a result of the preparative or investigative procedure. I Googled historic artifact in the dictionary and found no entries. And I spoke to SHPO, the State Historic Office. They did not have a definition or guidelines specifically for historic artifacts or artifacts. I spoke to CHAD. They did not have anything. I contacted, you know, the National Alliance of Preservation Commissioners. I got 2 responses when I plugged in, does anybody have definition or guidelines for historic artifacts? One commission responded just with a definition. The definition was covered small objects like china, glassware, things like that. The second commission, and I didn't get a guide, a definition. I just got guidelines, which was a page and a half, and it read more like national landmarks where things have to be vetted and then they have to be maintained in a certain way. It was very detailed and wasn't really applicable to what we're trying to address here. So then I went on to the National Park Service and I could not find anything that gave me a definition or guidelines specific to artifacts, historic or just artifacts. When I came across the National Historic Landmarks guidelines and definitions, we have a landmark here in Lewis. It's one of, I think, a dozen or so in the state of Delaware, which is the Overfalls. You know, it's a national landmark. And like anything like that, it's a very involved process. And you have to meet certain criteria and you have to maintain your landmark. So I went through this and it covered what you would expect it to cover, you know, criteria, historic context, historic integrity, materials, workmanship. They even have a section called feeling, the association, significance, which was really, really important, and then resource types. So under the resource types, they list a building, they list a site, they give examples of sites, which include cemeteries and monuments, and then they also listed structures. The term structure in this document is used to distinguish from buildings those constructions made usually for purposes other than creating human shelter. Examples of structures include bridges, tunnels, gold dredges, fire towers, canals, turbines, dams, power plants, corn cribs, silos, roadways, shop towers, windmills, grain elevators, kilns, mounds, cairns, palisade fortifications, earthworks, railroad grades, system of roadways and paths, boats and ships, railroad locomotives and cars, telescopes, carousels, bandstands, gazebos, and aircraft, which is pretty broad. They also have a definition of an object. The term object is used to distinguish from buildings and structures those constructions that are primarily artistic in nature or are relatively small in scale and simply constructed. Although it may be by nature or design movable, an object is associated with a specific setting or environment. And I think that's pretty much all I checked to share with you. And then I just want to go back to our guidelines and our definition of structure. A combination of materials to form a construction for use, occupancy, or ornamentation, including but not limited to buildings, sheds, outbuildings, fences, storage tanks, signs, bulkheads, jetties, groins, whether installed on, above, or below the surface of land or water. So what I did not find, I found stuff, but what I didn't find was in any of the organizations, state or federal, any directives or definitions or guidelines specific to artifacts or historic artifacts. Everything I found had the same criteria, whether it was a corn crib structure, it still had the same guidelines that preservation uses throughout. So, therefore, my question to all of you is, do you have anything to add to this that would enlighten us in any way?
I know that we don't have a Statue of Liberty in Lewis, but the Statue of Liberty is something you can walk up into the crown. So it's a structure, it's a statue. Mm-hmm. Would you classify that as an artifact?
What I'm finding is that artifacts do not create a definition that's different from anything else. They identify perhaps the importance of something. But a chair can be an artifact. A cemetery can be an artifact. A statue can be an artifact if it has the right history, and story to go with it.
Mhm.
You know, materials don't designate whether it's an artifact or not. It's the history that designates if it's a I mean, we have, you know, people sometimes install very old doors in their houses because they like old doors. So would you call those an artifact, and where they have different guidelines for that door? My feeling, what I found is that the preservation guidelines that we refer to in order to create ours and that we review are appropriate for all historic items. I mean, I just can't find anything. And if somebody can, that is drastically different and justifies why we should modify our guidelines, alter our guidelines, I'm interested. But, you know, the charge was to this commission from mayor and council. And I don't, you know, I've shared with you, you know, most of what I have found out without repeating myself any more than I may have. But
Well,
yes.
I think that in everything that you said and all the items that were covered in all of those, you know, placements or all those organizations, that, you know, they're basically saying any object, you know, any object. And in my opinion, that would include artifacts of any size, if you know, if you want to get into it that way. It also covers whether an artifact is actually a structure. And there again, through all those definitions, we have say over placement of structure, whether it's a building or it's anything else, a monument, anything else. So I think, in my opinion, just because the word artifact is not found in any of those definitions, that an artifact would certainly be covered by the definition of an object or a structure. That's my opinion.
Thank you, George. Anyone else like to make a comment about this?
Yeah, no, I also tend to agree, and I just tried to do some quick research too, after seeing this agenda item, to see whether there were any municipalities within the country that had separate standards set up for artifacts. And I was only able to find one definition of an artifact, and it was from Compton, California. And it basically referred to their section in their municipal code under structure. And they expanded a little bit on their structures to basically mean a functional man-made construction such as a fence, gate, bridge, or tunnel, typically made for purposes other than creating shelter, fixed to the property on which it is located. And then this particular code refers to the National Register listings. The structure has to be either registered on the National Register, or it needs to be on the state register, or it has to be determined by the local municipality as being a contributing structure. So, but that's all I could find. So I think that, you know, our existing definition is pretty broad, and it would include artifacts or objects or what have you. So that's just my take.
Okay. Well, that was very thorough. Thank you, Michael. Anyone else like to make a comment? Bill? Landon?
I just think that, you know, every community has artifacts, And like a corn crib you wouldn't find in Sierra Vista, Arizona, probably. I never did. I was there 19 years. But you probably find it where they grow corn, like in our area, it would fit. Now, like in our area here, you have a maritime artifact, so to speak. It fits in our community. And I think it's something that we can review. But I think you have to look at it in its location in the community so that it benefits the community. As you look at it and you say, that's maritime. And the area I'm looking at here is a maritime area. It's out on the bay, or it's on the canal, or it's somewhere like that. You can relate to it. I mean, as I said before, as a little kid, I used to run down the pier and see them putting the nets on the reel, on the pier. And my father took me down there because when they did the fish factory processing, the stuff would fall around the pier area where the ships were, and there were sharks, gigantic ones, and he was afraid I was going to go out too far in the bay swimming. So after I saw the sharks, I stayed along the edge of the bank. But you know, it's like my yard. I was digging around and I dug up some Indian tools, and I took them to the museum and I had them look at them. I would classify them as artifacts. Now, where would we put them? I probably wouldn't leave them on the ground out there by my driveway, but we put them inside of a container so everybody can enjoy them. And I don't know if you want to speak about the very issue that we made a decision on, if we want to go there.
No.
Okay. So I'm just saying, you know, I consider that an artifact. I consider what I found as an artifact. And I think it fits into our community, and I think it should be preserved, and we should all enjoy it. It's what makes our community what it is. Yeah.
Anyone else want to say anything? Joe? No?
Incredible amount of research. I'm overwhelmed. Wow.
Well, it doesn't happen overnight. You know, but anyway, thank you. Randy, any thoughts about the request from mayor and council and what I just reviewed with everybody and our current ordinance?
Well, Madam Chair, I'd like to compliment you on your, very diligent and thorough research. I think that it is incredibly valuable. I'd love to see some copies of some of the things. Sure. If we could get staff or somebody to help you get those copied and you could send them to us. Okay. In my own research, and you and I spoke about this the day after mayor and council recommended this to us, that I don't see any distinguishing character between an artifact and the jurisdiction that we have. I don't see how by creating some different ordinance and that doesn't exist anyplace else in the other 50 states of this country, where preservation has been so important since going back to when the Rockefellers decided to start preserving Williamsburg. That I don't know how we would rewrite some precedenting section to our code that would more further define this. I don't think there's a way to do it. I think that our code speaks for itself. I think that we stand on the shoulders of a lot of people over the years in Lewis who have taken preservation very, very seriously. And I'm sorry that we're in this challenging situation that we all find ourselves in. And I hope that we can create a dialogue community-wide, that we get a full understanding of the difference in what we're being asked to do and what the conditions are that are mandating that we look at this, and that there's not a path in my research, and I think in your 20 or 30-minute review of what I'm sure were hours and days of deep research, you know, I don't see the benefit. I appreciate, and one of the things I'd like to go on record as saying is one of the things that I think that is paramount is that in that mayor and council meeting, they recognized the autonomous authority of HPARC to make these decisions. That is why they reprimanded this back to us. They are not empowered to make a decision about how we do this because they judiciously gave us that authority some years ago. And it has continued to evolve to what HPARC is now. And we all know the history of it. I mean, how we had different bodies and then the bodies became one, and, you know, but they recognized, and I really want to thank each of those members of mayor and council for continuing to recognize the value of this commission. We take a lot of flack. There's a lot of people that don't like what we have to say. They don't like the way that we go about doing it sometimes.
Right.
But we are an independent body within the governance of the town of Lewis. We don't answer to mayor and council. Thank you, mayor and council.
Thank you, Randy. Does anyone have anything else they would like to add to this conversation?
No, I just Barbara, that you've done such a huge job of research. I know it was hours and hours. And when I think about what other places call structure, you know, in some places a tennis court is structure, in some places a swimming pool is structure. So, you know, I'm sorry. I thought somebody said something. Anyway, so I have anything to add.
Okay. Bonnie and Brian, at this point.
Madam Chair, I think unless Councilperson Osler has some additional information to add or any more comments, I think it might be a good idea to open this up to public comment. I would again urge, you know, and remind everybody that you're going to be limited to 3 minutes to provide public comment each. If there is something that somebody else already said that you're just reiterating, I would just ask that you not reiterate that point, since we're trying to make sure that there's enough time and opportunity for other people to talk and convey other ideas that you might also find important. And I would ask Ms. Cornwell to try to monitor that 3 minute time period as much as possible. Councilperson Osler, do you have anything to add?
I just want to pick up on what Randy said about the importance of this commission to the city that we all love, to its appearance, to its rhythm, to its scale, and the work that's been done by HPC, by CARC, and now by the combined commission. It is certainly true that you all have from time to time had folks who disagreed with some of the things you did, but I think for anyone who was listening tonight to the thorough and cooperative treatment of those 3 applications can see what a really great commission this is. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Bonnie. All right, I just wanted to add that it's not mandated that you speak for 3 minutes. It's just a maximum time amount. So, Janelle, I guess if you want to select someone.
Yeah, Alicia Jones has her hand up, so I'm gonna allow her to talk.
Okay.
I'm going to be pretty short. I listened to all those definitions, but nowhere did I hear anything that talked about streetscape. Number one. Number two, there have been other historic Black buildings such as St. Paul Church, but that is not considered important enough by this commission, I assume, to be a historical landmark. And number three, are we always going to have people who are of this generation, not of previous generations, deciding what happens to property? It says historic. It doesn't say gentrification. And I'm not surprised that you're just digging in your heels. I'll add that. I'm finished.
Do you want response to that or not? Okay. All right. Janelle?
Next up is Drew McKay.
Hi, Drew. Hello, Drew.
Back home again after many years.
Yes, welcome back.
Tonight I'm offering some thoughts on behalf of St. Peter's. As a vestry member and asked by Father Jeff to speak to you, I'm not here in any other role except as a member of the vestry of St. Peter's, trying to represent St. Peter's, since that's one of the two areas in the CH zone that may be covered by any draft ordinance or changes that you all recommend. And Barbara, your resuscitation was quite thorough and did not include one word that I would like to point out to the commission, which is none of it covered any religious artifacts. None of it covered anything that relates to a church, whether it be in the CH district, Bill, or the First Presbyterian Church, or any other church in the city. Our concern is that any ordinance should not be expanded or include any religious structures, objects, or artifacts. While we are very supportive of the historical, cultural heritage and preservation in the city, we don't think that should extend to making aesthetic decisions about religious artifacts or objects. An object, I was asked earlier today, what kind of object might be the subject of that? The columbarium, whether it gets moved, replaced, expanded in the St. Peter's Square. So I just want to keep in mind that we think, regardless of LHS issues in their compound, we think that the religious artifact issue is separate and distinct from that, and that should apply across the city, not just in CH zone. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Janelle, anyone else?
I don't see any other hands raised.
None?
None.
Okay. All right.
I just got one more, sorry. Or she took it down, so I don't know.
Okay.
Nope, she's back.
All
Okay.
right.
Elaine Zimmerman. So
Hi, Elaine. Elaine, I don't think your mic's on. Can't hear you, Elaine. Janelle, do you have to do something so Elaine can speak?
she should be able to unmute.
Yeah, I've hit unmute. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. Can hear you. Good, Elaine.
Okay. The only thing I wanted to add, and I'm really piggybacking on what Drew just said, when you look at that definition of artifact, which I looked up as well, it really tended to talk about smaller items. And I think of all of the artifacts that I personally have collected since I've been here in Lewis, shards from the shipwreck out in the Delaware Bay. Most of us probably picked some of those up. Certainly old bottles, and like with Bill Landon, things from the Indians. Certainly those are not covered by HPC, and they shouldn't be covered by HPC. I can't imagine. So I like the idea of sticking with structure the way it is defined in the current regulations.
Okay, thank you. Is that it, Janelle?
Nope. Trina Brooks, Brown Hicks wants to talk. Sorry about that, Trina.
Okay. Trina?
Can you hear me?
Yes, hear you good.
I just wanted to say that it sounds like that it's not going well for the artifact that is in the LH Historical Society campus. but I support that it remains where it's at. And I just wanted to say that I think that it is a great contribution to the community and an asset. So I just wanted to make that clear that I support where it's at.
Thank you. I'll repeat that the only thing we're discussing here tonight is what mayor and council have asked us to discuss. And that's the possible recommendation of an ordinance to establish criteria for reviewing historic artifacts in the CH zone. So any other, Janelle? Anybody?
Currently, there are no other hands up.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's close that portion of the meeting, if that's okay with everyone. And then we go back to, since we have nothing new to consider, I'm going to defer to Bonnie and Brian on what our proper action is at this point.
Well, council, excuse me, Madam Chair, there is I guess the question comes back to what does the agenda say? Is HPARC in a position to make a recommendation? Is it not in a position to make a recommendation? And I guess there should be some sort of evaluation or vote on that front to.
Well, the what's been referred to as is discussion and possible recommendations to mayor and council for the development of an ordinance to establish criteria for review of historic artifacts of the CH zone. Well, we've had discussions. We don't seem to have a recommendation. Excuse me. So I don't know that we have anything to return.
I mean, it's up to, obviously up to the commission, bless you, what it wants to do. And obviously the minutes of this meeting will be forwarded to council and read by council to see what transpired and what people's comments were. So it's really up to you whether you want to do something more formal or you want to rest on the records you've created.
Is there a recommendation, Brian?
If the action of the commission is that there is no recommendation, then I think I would put that as a formal item so that mayor and council can have that, since they asked you guys to discuss and review it. If the commission wants more time, then that's another avenue. And then if the commission actually has a recommendation that it would like to put to mayor and council with regard to whether to draft a ordinance or not, that's something that can be said as well. So really, I think you have three options. Need more time. One, I have a recommendation. Here it is. Two, or we don't have a recommendation. There you go, mayor and council. Three.
Okay. Does anyone think we need more time? Raise your hand if you think we need more time. No hands. Raise your hand if, what was the other one? If we have something to suggest.
Recommendation, yeah.
If you have
if we have a recommendation, we have a recommendation, George?
Well, help me out here. I don't know if this is a recommendation, but if you want to define an artifact, when an artifact actually becomes a structure and its placement in a community that involves the streetscape of all its surroundings, that when that artifact is not a coin or a glass bottle or a piece of a shipwreck or whatever, which is classified as an artifact, but when that artifact becomes or is a structure, that we do have jurisdiction over that as defined by our rules and regulations.
Can
Yes.
I
don't know if that's a
offer,
recommendation.
Well, I
can
mean,
I
if
offer
that,
a different view to that? I mean, it's kind of maybe in a more positive light that, can I try?
sure, yeah,
So in what is written, it says development of an ordinance to establish criteria for review of historic artifacts.
it says possible
Well,
recommendation.
well, I understand, but I'm just reading that portion of it.
Okay.
That's what we're charged to do, to either recommend, but specifically an ordinance to establish criteria for review of historic artifacts. And I think that what we can safely, honestly, and openly give back to the mayor and council is that based upon review of other historic preservation bodies, there is no need beyond our current regulations for any modifications that would address something that's specific, because our ordinance already addresses that through the definition of streetscape, which is in our ordinance. It's in our ordinance, the definition of streetscape. The definition of structure is in our ordinance. Why we are guided to review things is written in our standards. I just, the historic context and the information you provided and that we can do research on doesn't say or justify creating some other means of a vehicle here. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe that's the same thing you're saying, George, but I think
I agree with you, Randy. I think that you just put it better than I did. Like I said, when I started that, I don't know if that was a recommendation or not, but more like a statement of fact.
Right.
It's a structure. If it's a structure, we already have the authority.
So Commissioner Burton, just from my understanding of what you just said, and maybe I'm overly simplifying it, is the statement back to mayor and council that there is no recommendation because we think the ordinance as written is sufficient?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no need, right, correct.
Is raise your hand if you agree with the statement that Brian just made.
I agree with that.
Randy?
Well, oh, I agree. I wouldn't say that Brian's saying it only because he's our counsel and we shouldn't have it on record that we're going with what he said. He was paraphrasing.
I know. I just wanted to see whether everybody was on the same page or not.
Okay. I just, it's all public record.
It is. The public
So I
meeting
think
we're
we should
having
be
right now.
careful about, hanging the noose around Brian's neck.
No, we don't want to do that.
I think Brian was just trying to summarize what you all had said.
Right.
Yeah.
Understood.
Council personnel.
Okay. So,
Question for Barbara.
yes,
What's lurking on the horizon, at least what I see, is the historic swing bridge, which is an artifact of the railroad industry here,
and a structure.
and a structure which is the ugliest bridge I've ever seen, but that's my opinion.
And it's not in the historic district.
I know.
Its placement will not be in the historic district.
I know. It's got to be out in the booties, but it may want to be declared a historic artifact in the future.
Well, that's up to them. That'll be on them.
It's not us.
Out there.
Yeah.
Not us.
Yeah.
It's also not in that your charge tonight was to look at the cultural historic zone. And
Yes.
Right. Okay. All right.
That's all the thing. That's true. That's very good. Good reminder. Okay, so at this point, we're all in agreement. We've had our discussion and have not come up with any change or recommendation to mayor and council for the development. We do not have a recommendation to mayor and council for the development of an ordinance to establish criteria for review of historic artifacts in the CH zone.
Okay, now.
Yes.
I think, yes,
Out of an abundance of caution.
that's
and
fine.
probably are all tired of me saying this, but would you each please state a reason, vote, and then state a reason as to your vote?
Okay, all right, I'll start. I vote that the charge we have, discussion and possible recommendation to the mayor and city council for the development of an ordinance to establish criteria for a review of historic artifacts.
Madam
And
Chair,
this-
I'm gonna cut you off again. Sorry. We might need a motion on that.
Okay. All right,
I'll continue with the motion that I began in the simplified format that council suggested, that we do not see a need for a recommendation due to the fact that our ordinance covers that criteria.
I'll second.
I'll second it too.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, now we're gonna go around one by one. Randy, you can start it. And for the record, say again why.
Well, it all just makes me cry. Because when I said what I just said, I had to sit back in my chair because it all just makes me cry. Because this is the town that I have been born and raised in. This is the town that my family has been in for the last nearly 300 years. And I have fear of the repercussions of making the motion that I made. But I stand for the same reasons as stated earlier.
Okay, I have a second.
Well, I'm voting in favor of the motion because I think that our
Second.
ordinance already,
I need a second, George.
oh, second.
Already did second it.
Oh, we
Yeah, I
did?
did second.
Okay, and now we're just gonna do a vote and then we're gonna go around. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Okay, all in favor. And now, George, you can continue making your statement.
Okay.
I'm sorry to have everybody repeat things so often, but it's
Right.
necessary.
Well, I voted in favor of the motion because I think that it's already in our purview to approve or not approve of structures, whether they, whether you want to classify them as artifacts or not. It is in our purview to do that. So I don't think we need a special ordinance regarding something that's already present.
All right, thank you. Michael?
Yeah, I agree as well. I think the existing ordinance addresses the issue at hand.
Mhm. Thank you. Bill?
I do, touche. I agree. I think that our ordinance is adequate, covers what we've chartered to do, and that artifacts are included in as well as structures.
Okay. Joe?
I'll agree that we don't need a new ordinance because we're covered from artifacts to structures to anything we've done it all.
Bill?
I agree that the ordinance that we work under covers us to make the decisions that we made, and so I agree that we have nothing nothing to recommend to council other than we're going by our ordinance.
Yes. And I too agree. I think we have a very strong ordinance. I've been comparing it to a lot of other ordinances. Some are slightly different, but we tend to have everything covered that everybody else's ordinance does, and sometimes additional items in a more clear fashion. So I think we should be very proud of our ordinance. I think it's been serving us well for quite a long time. It doesn't, the recommendation is that periodically you do, revisit your ordinance the same way you revisit the survey and other items, but I think as it has been updated over the years, it gets better, and it's very good, very competent. So I agree. And I think Randy's already stated why he agrees, unless you have something else you want to add, Randy.
No, I've said enough.
You've said enough. Okay. Very good.
On behalf of
Bonnie?
council, just want to say on behalf of council, since council referred this over here, thank you for the discussion and the exploration. It was enlightening and I thought very good at reminding us all about how important historic preservation is.
Good. I'm glad. Brian, are we good to move on?
I think we're good to move on to the next agenda item. Thank you. Madam
Thank
Chair.
you. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. I think this was a very serious discussion and I'm glad we had it. So, E2 is discussion on the state of Delaware's historic preservation tax credits program, tax credit program workshop presented by Preservation Delaware on February 23rd. Bill, you have been in touch with SHPO.
I chimed in and I think they gave a very good class on it. And I don't know how many got the opportunity to listen to them.
Yeah.
Every time I do, I learn something new.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do think that they're trying to make the credit process available to everyone. However, they need to go back. I really think they need to go back and say, okay, the way it used to be, of course, you had up to 5 years to get it in and it got approved and more people got the credit. Okay. But now it's 3 phases. Now they will allow you to put together what you want to do to your home and then also the construction of it and then the final. They said you can include the first 2 phases. But that process is difficult. It's now they have agreed, and if it's okay with you, Robin, they've agreed that the inspector is supposed to send that to me. They're going to put a cover letter to the credit package. And if I know it's a little work for you, but I'm willing to give you the packages with the cover letters. And if we could attach that to the application, that would at least get it to the folks to read it and be able to go back to them, ask questions, and be inclusive into the process. And maybe we'll get more people applying for the tax credit. As it stands right now, it's very, very difficult because, as I mentioned before, people want to get on with their projects and they want to move out. If you move out, it's too late. They're not going to entertain your tax credit. So,
Yeah. Well, I think we can, with the Zoom presentation, it's, in fact, I'll check on it, but I think PDI records their workshops, their Zoom workshops. So I'll have to see when that is online and perhaps we can start sharing that if even with or without the packets.
and I'll just say one other thing. I know it's been a long meeting. I picked up this time that I didn't last time was if you're painting your house or you're just taking the cedar shakes on your roof or something and you're changing them out, you get a credit for it up to $30,000. That's a great deal. And there's not a whole lot you got to do to say, I'm painting my house from white to pink and this is pink it's going to look like. And painting a house costs a lot of money.
That's right.
And you get a big credit for it. So
I think that's excellent. I mean, we should maybe see if we can pull out some of those items that everybody does on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And
just routine maintenance.
Yeah, just make them aware of it.
The difficult part is when you're adding on to your house. That's the difficult part.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And if you have a tight time schedule, that's very difficult. Okay. Any questions for Bill? Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
Pardon?
I just said thanks, Bill, for them.
You're welcome. 3, presentation, discussion, and possible action on the revisions to the HPARC application list. Now, this is something that Phil has worked very hard on. We have to put it into the format that we currently have, but it follows all the designations. Phil, do you want to go over it with everyone?
Okay, has everyone had a chance to read it, or have they received it, Barbara?
It was in our packet.
Ah, okay. Well, yes, I have it out of the packet.
I'm glad it was in yours too.
I really followed the application. What started me to do it was that the title of the application was Historic Review Commission and not HPARC. And so I thought, oh, the title is not right. So what I really did was go through it and just revise these things so that they're just updated. I didn't make any major changes. What I did at one area where they said where it says talking about architectural design drawings, floor plans, exterior elevations of the proposed changes, including new and existing construction, alterations, building and site modifications must be drawn to scale and dimension. The drawings may be prepared by, and I put in the original, the one that we've been working with says you do not have to hire an architect. And I put in prepared by an architect or an individual with experience in preparing construction drawings. The preliminary construction drawings must provide enough information and so on. I didn't change a lot at all. I just brought the wording up to date.
I just noticed one thing. We do not actually ask for construction drawings. I mean, I think that the term construction drawings, I mean, Randy, you can jump in on this one. To me, construction drawings have been misinterpreted in the past, and people end up doing an awful lot of work. It's not necessary for our applications.
Okay.
We need to understand exactly what the applicant's proposing to do. So
then you could take the word construction out, and it just reads preliminary drawings must provide enough information instead of preliminary construction drawings. Just leave out the word construction out.
Okay.
Yeah, either leave it out or change it to design drawings, because there's a, I mean.
Yeah, preliminary design drawings.
Design intent of what is going on versus the sticks and bricks and very specific.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need to know exactly how it's all going to go together. We just need to know what the outcome is going to be. All right. So
the only thing I would question there is when it states floor plans. We are not we're not charged with what is inside the house.
That's correct, but it's very hard if you don't get a plan.
Yeah.
To understand if you only see elevations.
True. Okay.
And that's
yeah.
And that's what I've always stressed is that if you're just looking at a flat elevation drawing and there's vertical lines, you have no way to know that, 10 feet in from the front, it indents in 6 feet or it extends towards you 6 feet.
Yeah.
You have to kind of guess based on some other elevations what the heck is going on there.
Right.
And so that is why, and
I guess it just makes a clearer picture, just so long as we stay away from criticizing what people are doing.
And I think that's our job. We just have to bite our tongue. I mean, I'm sure every one of us can look at an application that gives us full floor plans and think, well, I wouldn't have done it that way.
Right.
But that's not what we're doing here, so.
Right.
Okay.
But even our discussion tonight about the dormers and one dormer, I mean, I looked at that dormer too, and I said that dormer is doing nothing but looking pretty on the street. But I didn't say anything about it, but then Barbara did. Because in the past I've been criticized for commenting on, working on a floor plan. but it's important sometimes to know how the elevation defines the scale of the building, of the side of the building, and how it fits in with the streetscape.
All right, well, no, I'm fine. I just.
Yeah,
wanna make
it's a
sure-
good reminder. It's a
Yeah.
very good reminder, George, and you will be in charge of reminding.
You got it.
Okay. All right. And I think the other thing too, and it's even in some of the historic guidelines, that's, and I can't remember the exact wordage, but basically they're saying that the purpose is that by understanding what's going on in the inside, we can better review the outside of a applicant.
Yeah.
And which means also that in some cases, if we say, well, you can't change the fenestration of a historic structure, meaning you can't change the window and door locations. But then they explain to you that in order to do a workable kitchen and add another bath, you know, they have to change the windows so that
Right.
they're above counter height, and that this, you know, it's not a huge window that's now a bathroom. There was never a bathroom maybe in that house ever. So it's all part of getting the whole picture of what they're starting with, and then understanding where they're going, where they want to go.
Yeah, I
So
got you.
it's another situation of all information is good information. We just have to, you know, bite our tongue.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, so I think that's important, very important. So, any other comments or concerns about this? Yeah, and Michael?
I was just wondering that the last paragraph that pretty much is verbatim from the existing form that talks about the building official shall notify the applicant, blah, blah, blah. And then the applicant or their representative must attend the HPARC meeting. And then it talks about the informal and collaborative nature of the meeting. And then the section that talks about decisions are based on information presented, the regulations of the City of Lewis Code. I'm wondering if there's some way we could specifically reference the historic ordinance and the code number along with the Secretary of the Interior standards.
Okay, that's good.
I think that's a good idea.
So that information is there for the public. I'll work on it, that paragraph. I'm tightening that up a little bit, if that's okay, and share it with everybody.
Sure.
Would that work?
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
And then-
okay.
And then the other thing that I noticed was under, I think it's under item number 3. We like to, where it talks about description and drawing details. Don't we also want to include literature, where they include the samples of like the lighting and the asphalt roof or the cedar shake roof, or they provide literature specific to what they plan on incorporating?
Yeah, I think that's, you know, I sometimes think that a front porch can be defined by the light fixture.
Right,
You know,
right.
it's
So
really,
I would add,
you
know,
could
I
also
would-
ruin the historic
Right.
appearance of it by picking the wrong light fixture.
Right. And then,
Yeah, I
and
think
then-
adding literature is good, Michael.
and then also adding, well, this is what I propose: a description, drawing details, and literature of the type, texture, and colors of the materials to be used, including siding, windows, trim, porch flooring, railings, roofing materials, exterior lighting, hardscaping, etc. And then we might want to add something like, please see the HPARC material checklist for additional reference.
That's a good idea.
And I think when you list all that, I think
Yeah.
the catch-all that's usually good is shall include but not be limited to,
Okay.
or something like that too.
Okay.
So if they have other items and we just haven't called it out, they know that they need to,
Among others, or something. We got, yeah, okay.
some kind of catch-all to make sure that we,
Okay.
you know, or a cover note that says,
Yeah.
all materials, visual exterior materials being proposed,
Okay.
such as.
Okay. Yeah, no, otherwise I think Phil, you did a good job. So I could volunteer to tighten this up a little bit and get this another version out to everybody, if that would
Yeah.
work.
Is that okay with you,
That's
Phil?
absolutely fine.
I
because
don't want to take this away.
That's fine, because I don't type. My wife typed this.
Well,
Okay, so she's.
Thank her
she's
for
saying-
us.
Yeah, she's saying thank you also. Okay.
Okay.
So can we table this discussion until our next meeting?
Yeah.
The rest of stuff, yeah. I think it's, you mean the checklist?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we don't have anything to vote
And
on.
then
Yeah, so.
we'll review it
it's-
again at our next meeting. I guess it'll
Yeah.
be under old business.
Right, and I have another list of items that, at some point, not tonight, things that we sort of bantered about that we need to address that might provide clarity to our guidelines in some different areas. And, Robin and I have talked about, and so before the next meeting, I'll send out, this carryover list of possible things that we want to address in the guidelines at some future point time.
Okay. Could I just go back to the tax credit thing just for
Sure.
like one thing? When they were listing the people who could assist in applying for it, they left out architects. Now, in the past, I did historic preservation of several churches, historic churches, and New York State had a program where a church could get a low interest loan, guaranteed low interest loan, and had to make out an application. Those applications ended up on my desk because the church wasn't able to do the application. So I really think that architects should also be listed as.
I think they should, but this is not our tax credit form. This is the state's.
But this is the state.
This
Yeah,
is,
well,
this
she,
is the state of Delaware. So I think that's a very good suggestion. I know other architects that do that for their clients. And I think it's a very good suggestion.
well, that's what I mean.
But we have to go back to the state and have them change it.
Right.
Yes.
I guess we misunderstand each other.
Oh.
I think the state should,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, maybe Bill, since he has this really nice working relationship with them, you could bring that up and point it out that it's missing missing the fact that they really should include architects
Okay, yeah,
as,
I agree with Phil.
yeah,
And I'll be talking to him in the next few days, so
okay,
I'll bring it
good.
up.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, next we have, this is interesting. We have appointment of 3 HPARC members to the Joint Site Development Ad Hoc Review Committee. Bonnie, do you want to enlighten everybody on what this means and why?
Well, when the HPARC rules were rewritten, one of the things we came up with was a joint committee where there was overlapping jurisdiction between the Planning Commission and the Historic and what is now HPARC. So the idea was to expedite things, was to come up with a joint commission where some folks from the Historic Commission or Joint Committee, some folks from the Planning Commissions, people from HPARC would sit down and they would be the ones who would do the site plan review and bring, all of their competencies to that review, and it would go more quickly. So we now, I gather, have 2 applications to the city that trigger the need for the joint committee. So this is HPARC coming up with its 3 reps, and then LPC. Sorry, it's getting late.
Yes.
And remember, we had a council meeting last night, so this is my second.
Oh my gosh.
Late night.
Yeah.
So if I begin to make less sense than usual, you'll know why. So, and then the Planning Commission will appoint its 3. At our session last night, we appointed the mayor to be the non-voting chair for the joint committee. So that's what you guys are doing, is to pick 3 among yourselves to serve on that committee. Is that
Well-
wanted, Barbara?
Yes, yes.
I would nominate Bill, Randy, and Michael.
Oh, wow.
Thanks a lot, George.
Hey.
Come on, come on.
Oh, George. Well, that got you off the hook.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a second? I think
Wait,
Joe's
wait.
seconding that
Joe.
motion.
Joe, what?
Just to let you know, I've already been taken. The chair of the planning commission called me this afternoon and asked me to serve on the planning commission part of it. So I am
Okay.
at the discussion here.
Okay. All right. Well, the 3 of you that were just suggested, I'll start with Michael. Is that okay with you, Michael?
When would the meetings be?
I don't know,
They've
Bonnie.
not been determined yet. I think they're trying to get this group together first. Again, as Bonnie said, the mayor and council had their first vote. Tonight would be the HPARC representative, and planning commission is meeting next week to pick their 3. So the application right now that we have received is for the new middle school at the Shields Elementary site. So that's the application, the first one that comes.
Yeah, and Robin, the application is in, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so to answer your question, Michael, I don't know the exact timing, but I would imagine within the next month for sure.
Okay, the only, my only limitation is I've got some appointments the middle of next month. I'm not going to be able to, Barbara's sort of aware of the middle of next month. I've got some stuff going on that that if it's going to be around the middle of next month, it's not going to work. But
Well, I mean,
when it gets scheduled, everybody who is appointed, we would send
Okay,
out
okay.
meeting dates to see what works, because we now have we would
Sure,
hopefully
okay.
have 7 different people, and I've got to figure out schedules
Okay,
and work
okay.
around the city schedule to get it all set up.
Okay.
So I'll make sure everybody's available for the meeting date.
Okay.
okay, Bill,
It's okay by me.
great. Randy?
Yeah, I'm willing to serve. I just have one question though, Bonnie. This is only for applications that went in after mayor and council approved this. So like, it's not reviewing the workforce housing. It's not reviewing the Fisher property, because they were in as applications before this commission was created.
Right, exactly. And that type of development application doesn't trigger the joint committee.
Okay, I got you. Very good. So
All
to be
right.
really easy, simple applications, every one of them.
That was fast. Good,
I
good.
think my assumption too is these members could change. It's not that you're
Okay.
permanently
A permanent,
it can, next
It's fluid.
application might be 3 different members.
Oh,
I recommend George next time.
I second that. I second that.
We have a
Touche,
second.
all right.
And the third time.
Turn
And the
around,
third
fair
time.
play.
Yeah, I get you.
okay, well, Michael, if and just to let Janelle know, if Michael can't do it and George is not available, I can jump in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, for me right now, I just have to get through my cancer treatment, and I should be back in full swing of things, in about a month or 2, so.
Okay.
Barbara, maybe what you should do, given George's schedule and Michael's schedule, is call for a vote to appoint, the 3 that we've talked about, and yourself as an alternate.
Okay.
If one of them can't show up.
Okay, so that would be just for this first application. Correct?
Yeah,
Or-
Robin, I'd heard there were 2, but maybe I misunderstood.
So there's a second one that will hopefully be ready to go in the same time as the middle school. It came in yesterday, afternoon, but it might need some more work before it's ready for the committee, but there are two.
Okay. Bonnie, do you think it would be better that we pick 3 people and they would always be the 3 people? Or should we move around to who's available and scheduling, or? I mean,
I think you can do that. I really think you can do that as it goes along, because people may say, look, this is more than I can do, or this doesn't work with my schedule. So since George threw the first 3 into the fire, and they willingly went.
Yeah. That's a surprise.
Yeah. Why don't you see how it works? I mean, we haven't had any application that triggered the joint committee since the rules went into effect, 2 years ago?
2 years ago, yeah.
So I don't think this is going to be a growth industry.
Yeah, okay, yeah, this went into effect when we combined CARC and HPC.
Right.
It was a
right.
growth out of that.
A couple years ago now. So now we've got 2, but I mean, unless Janelle and Robin, see an unending line of similar applications, I think these are going to be very periodic and haphazard as they come in.
Okay, all right, so I need a motion then to confirm Michael and Randy and Bill.
And you as an alternate.
And me as an alternate.
Yeah, so move.
Okay, second?
I'll second that.
Joe,
There
thank
you
you.
go, Joe.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Well, something new and exciting.
That was
How about
fun.
that? Yes.
We know where you live, George.
You've been to my house.
Exactly.
We're sending
Okay.
Randy's dog over there.
Yeah.
I'll wear
All
a
right.
different hat during that meeting.
The last thing we have is the presentation of chair and staff, wherever my list went, which was big, long,
Huge.
huge.
Not that long.
No, it wasn't.
Five items, yeah.
Yeah, because this was only 1 month. The last one was 3 months, I think.
Right.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
The last one was huge.
And so they were easy on us this month. So again, there was 5, again, relatively small items as usual. Nothing really stuck out.
Okay. Anyone have any
Everybody got
questions?
the list, so everybody should have a chance to review it.
Mhm. Yeah, I did. I just can't find it right now. Okay, does anyone have any questions?
No?
Nope, no questions? Okay. Well, I think that's it for now.
Now,
Now, yes, we
it's
can,
8:58.
You say 9 o'clock.
yeah. Well, hey, that's only 3 hours. I mean, mayor and council are running these 6-hour mega meetings,
No,
Wow.
last night's was only, I think we were done at 10, so it was only 3.5 hours.
Aye.
You know, that's that brings up something. I didn't have on my, I didn't pick up that we were now meeting following mayor and council's meeting, which makes it, and I also have a monthly meeting on Monday nights. So when I am going to participate in mayor and council, I'll have to miss this other meeting. But I'm just wondering, not that anybody wants to change this again, but whether this date was such a good idea. I mean, there's lots of other dates of the month that we could pick from. When Bonnie, when you're not here, it'll be somebody else from mayor and council that will have 2 night meetings in a row, which it's tough. So.
I got one Thursday too.
Oh, nothing Wednesday? Well, Thursdays, is that a continuation of mayor and council?
No, Thursday is a public hearing at the Planning Commission on 2 proposed ordinances, one involving source water protection and one involving basically housing responses, dimensional stuff, responses to sea level rise.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
There's no standing meeting on the second, on the second Thursday though. So if you're looking for a night that is normally free, there's no conflict typically. And if this is a standing meeting, we would schedule others around it.
So if we had our meeting this Thursday, then Bonnie's other meeting would have been some other time?
Correct.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But again, the second Thursday would then put you behind the council.
Well, by 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, it still gives a day break.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you want to go back to the first week, we don't want to do Tuesday. We could do the first Thursday. Would that give more of a break around other?
There's no standing conflict there either. That would be an open evening.
All right. Does anybody have?
I think the most important thing is that there's a standing date, because
Right.
with all of the meetings that we have, if it's not a standing date, it's easy to get turned around.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I was more concerned about, we'll have another council person and they're going to have two night meetings, and and the mayor and council meetings have been pretty long and sometimes continue to another day. Maybe we should go back to the first week.
Yeah, I make a motion that we move to the first Thursday. It would work better for mayor and council members, for city manager, all of those people, because they would be 2 different weeks instead of 2 nights in the same week, even if they're separated by a day. Same for Robin, staff, for staff, everybody all the way around. It just seems better.
I'll second
What
that.
does anybody?
I got a question for Mr. Attorney. Is that okay because it's not an agenda item?
It should be on the agenda if you're going to act on it.
Okay, well, we'll postpone that till next month then.
All right, we'll put it on the agenda for next month.
And then we'll have to revise the bylaws.
Yeah, that's what I see. Issue.
See, I told you not to put the date in the bylaws.
Yeah.
Nobody would listen to me.
It's better there than it is in the ordinance.
Oh, that's true. Heaven forbid. Yes. Mhm. Okay. All right. So we will meet on the second Tuesday next month, and then which will be following mayor and council meeting, and then we'll take up. That'll be on the agenda for next month.
Sounds good.
Revise the date. Okay. All right. Anything else?
I just have a quick question. Does anybody know what's going on with the house at the corner of Madison and Kings Highway? It seems that they stripped off a lot of their exterior. I mean, they haven't taken any siding down, but they've taken some, door frames off and what have you. Just wondered
Wow.
if anybody knows
Madison and
what's going
King.
on.
Oh.
The mansard roof house that sits on the corner there?
Is that the
Yeah.
Marshall House? The Marshall House?
2 blocks down.
Yes, I think it's the house on the corner. The next house in is Bill Schaub's house.
Yeah.
And I just noticed that they seem to be doing some exterior work, and I didn't know if any of that. I didn't know what was going on with that, but that needed to come.
Sounds like
before.
Well,
Robin.
I can tell by the frown on Robin that
I don't know the address. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the White House. I think it does have a mansard roof. Yeah, on the corner.
Oh,
of-
well, they're the ones that
Madison.
they removed the chimney, didn't
Chimney
they,
and put the
Robin?
with the window
Yeah, they put the window back in, they removed the
on
chimney.
the side.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, they removed the exterior chimney because then they found that there was a window there.
And so they put the window
Moved
back.
back in, yes.
Yeah.
Are they doing
I guess
something
it's
else?
a work in progress.
They were doing
No,
interior
no.
work.
It just seems like it's taking a long time, and it kind of is ugly. But I was just curious.
Yeah, if that's the one, yes, they got approved to do that.
Oh, okay.
The chimney and the window, yes.
That's all.
But they've got some inside work they're doing also, which is not reviewable. But I'll go by this look and make sure.
Okay.
All right.
It's
Thank you,
taking a long
Robin.
time too. So
Yeah. Okay, anything else? All
move to
right.
adjourn.
Okay, so a second to adjourn?
I second that.
Second.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Okay,
Thank you,
everybody.
guys.
Thank you very, very much. I
Good to
think
see everybody.
everybody, thank you. This
Thank
was
you.
a
Thank you, Barbara.
couple challenging items here. Thank you very much. All right,
Good night.
okay, you can have wine now.